It is what it is. There we go. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Welcome to the panel. Welcome to the panel. I'm gonna start with Casual, man. Casual, how you been? You haven't been on a panel with me in a long time. So how you been?
Just chilling. I think I woke up like 5 minutes ago, so I'm ready to go.
I'm
ready to
rock
go.
and roll.
We got no shower, Casual. That's what we got. Okay.
I'm a night shower guy. I'm a night shower guy.
Mm-hmm.
Never really been in the morning
You're not a
shower.
2 shower a day. You're not a 2 shower a day type of guy.
I'm not musty, bro. I take a shower right after the gym, and that's about it. If I do anything after, I'll take another shower. But
Chill, you a night shower guy? You a night shower guy?
I am a day shower guy. Yeah, it depends on, and I live in South Florida, so it's warm down here. So there are times where I do jump in the shower at night, but for the most part, I'm a day shower guy. So, and I want you guys in the chat and all of you guys listening. This dude that we got in here, Casual, he is not a casual. That's a trick, okay? Do not let that name fool you. No, he is not, okay? You might think that because his name is Casual, he knows a lot more than he's letting on. I'm not fooled. No, I'm on to him. I'm definitely on to him. No, my radar is on. I know who this guy is. So some of you guys might be tricked by the name Casual. No, don't.
I wouldn't say it's a trick. When I made the name, I would definitely consider myself a casual back then. I think I'm getting smarter. I think I've gotten a lot smarter in the last year. But when I made the name, I was supposed to be a straight casual. I wanted to come on here and just be a casual talker. But I think my ego wouldn't let me just say something dumb. So I forced myself to get smart.
So Mars, he's the guy who, when you see him on the court, he says he doesn't really know much about the game until you actually see him with the ball, and you're like, he knows.
Yeah, the guy with the worst. The guy with the worst accessories.
It looked like he don't look like he can play, but as soon as you gets the ball, it's like, no, don't let that dude fool you. He's a lot better than what you think he is.
So you looking out for Casual in the PCL, Chill? You trying to avoid him on?
He's softening up on me, bro.
I'm not ducking smoke. I'm not ducking smoke. Just more. It's more of I'm ready for him. I'm not fooled by the quote unquote casual. No, I know what I'm up against guys like him.
I get a good topic.
I know what I'm up against. He's not. I'm not on it. So this guy, he's a casual. He's only been around for like a couple of them. No, that's how you get knocked out. That's how you get hit right in the temple and put to sleep.
Casual, one of the few people who I think are 3-0 in the PCL. So he an early favorite. I've been seeing the comments. They've been saying Casual an early favorite. So no pressure now. Before you was playing as an underdog.
I know. I don't like this. I don't like this favorite talk like dark horse. Nah, I'm an underdog. I'm an underdog.
You might have done a little bit too well in the regular season.
That's what I was about to say, Mars. It's difficult when to be called an underdog when you're undefeated.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
You snuck a 1 seed. Now everyone's expecting the finals right now.
There you go. So it's hard to be.
You might have set yourself up not for failure, but for a bit more expectation. So just
I'm a 1 seed.
Oh, you're definitely the 1 seed in your conference right now, and probably the 1 seed overall. I think you're the only one who is undefeated. So definitely.
Did I lose?
Man, you got cooked.
I think Chill lost to
Dion. Yeah, you got cooked by Dion.
Did I lose?
Man.
I don't want to sway any votes.
The streets is saying that you lost to Dion.
What does the vote say? Did I lose?
I saw a lot
in the live chat. You won 2-1, but reading the comments after, it's an overwhelming majority. I don't know. I'm just saying the streets are saying. The streets is talking.
Sounds like I'm still undefeated though.
Dion with prep time, man. Dion with prep time.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know when they're revealing the overall standings. We'll see if Chill was undefeated. I think you're probably 2-1 based on what I'm reading in the comments. But it's possible you're 3-0 because you might have had enough pull in the chat. So we'll see. But before we get into the topics at hand, shout out to Marshawn Will for becoming a member today. Shout out to you.
Word.
And Good Energy Podcast said, I just want to know how Shai not better than at Luka. I just want to know how Shai is not better than Luka as a player, not looking at
team dynamic.
Not looking at team dynamic. As a player, not looking at team dynamic. Okay. Thank you, Good Energy Podcast. Does anyone here think Shai is better than Luka?
So just as a player for player, yes. Okay, we're not talking about accolades, which I hate, by the way. We're not talking about team construction. We're just talking about rolling the balls out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a better basketball player than Luka Doncic. No, he is not. I don't think he does more than Luka. I don't think he's a better scorer than Luka, even though as good as Shai Gilgeous is in the mid range, I mean, if you look at the numbers, because we are able to do that, Mars, I think from in the last 4 years, not 16 to 30 feet, but I think in the mid range from 10 to 15 feet, he shoots the same as SGA in the mid range over the last 4 years.
Who, Luka?
Yes, he shoots the same as SGA over the last 4 years from 10 to 16 feet. They shoot very sound. I think Shai shoots 46 or 47. I think Luka shoots 46. And when you talking about getting downhill, not just getting downhill, you talk about the long ball. Shai isn't much of a long ball shooter. I like the fact that Shai plays within himself. Now that could suggest to some people that he's a system player, but I actually like that about him. I like the fact that he plays within himself and he doesn't allow you to make him do anything that he doesn't know how to do, right? Or that he isn't good at. Luka, on the other hand, because of the responsibility as he has as a basketball player, I feel like that makes him better off the strength that he does more. I think he's a better distributor than SGA. I think he's a better, just on the offensive side of the basketball, I think he's a better distributor than SGA. I think he's a better playmaker than SGA. I think he's a better scorer than SGA overall.
Casual.
I think it's kind of close. I'm still a Luka guy, but you can say Luka was a little injured or what have you, but I thought that playoff series was a little convincing for SGA. If you're an SGA guy, because I thought that best player in the series was SGA, but Luka's better to me. I don't think SGA is this elite defender for the two-way gap to be like this monumental Grand Canyon. I just think the scoring ceiling for Luka is much higher. The offensive ceiling for Luka is just much higher, given that he can also give you the playmaking and run the offense better than SGA can. But
now, from a defensive standpoint, I don't think that we could even have that conversation between SGA. However, is SGA as good a defender as he's advertised? That's the $1 million question. I won't argue that he's a better defender than Luka. I won't argue that. Just from an effort standpoint, that part I won't argue. But is he better? Is he better than advertised? Because if you look at SGA as a defender on ball, I think he's a damn good on-ball defender. He keeps his hands busy. He's able to pluck away a lot of steals. He's able to do that. Off the basketball, he can get his head turned. He could get lost in pick. He can get caught on pick and rolls and things like that. So that kind of stuff, when it comes to SGA, that stuff worries me with him as a defender as advertised. I do think he's a better defender than Luka, though.
Hot take alert.
Hot take. I think everybody in the league's a better defender than Luka, probably.
Right.
But
so he's the worst defender in the league. You're not the first person to say that. But Alan kind of addressed what Chill just said. He said Shai is too mid defensively to be better than Luka. Also, Luka clears as a scorer, playmaker, and passer.
I don't know if he clears, Mars. That's the thing. I don't know if he clears as a scorer. I do think he's a better scorer, but I don't know if he clears SGA. Because when I hear the word clear, I mean like he's clearly better than him. I'm not gonna go that far because SGA, as crafty as he is, I mean, he gets to the basket with the best of them. No, he doesn't play above the rim, but neither does Luka. I just don't think there's anybody in the game who scores easier than Luka, and that includes Joel Embiid.
No, I don't include Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he clears. SGA led the league in 30-point games. I don't think he would clear. Now, I still think Luka is the much better scorer just because his ceiling's higher. I think if you were to plop him in an NBA game, who's more likely to get 50, 60? I mean, the guy got 70. I don't think SGA is going to ever get 70 in a game.
That's a lot, yo.
Yeah, Shai's less. Oh my God, we got a $50 super chat. We are definitely going to get to that after we tell you about these factor meals. Yeah, we are definitely going to get to that super chat, but we do first have to tell you about Factor.
What up, PC Nation? Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never-frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great-tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this July with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Head to factormeals.com/playerschoice50 and use code playerschoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code playerschoice50 at factormeals.com/playerschoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
There we go. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the show, Ox. You missed a little bit of Luka praise. So,
yeah, no, I heard that part. That's why I didn't put on the link. I was listening.
Well, thankfully, Adam West has come to put an end to the Luka praise with the $50 super chat. Shout out to Adam West. He said, "This chubby Boston fan upset with me, so we about to double down, chat. Let's keep it a buck. K, LO Sleazy, LB Souls, Cry More, WPC, W Mars, W Ron, W Chill, W Ox, W Dion, W Goofies, PC chat clears. Go get your get back with Daquan, Cry Baby."
Do we have?
I don't know what beef. I don't know what beef Adam West has.
That's what it sounds like.
But if your beef is going to make you send us $50 super chats, keep up the beef. I 1000%.
Let's keep that going.
Well, look though, Omar. If you need to get your get back with Daquan, there's only one place to do it.
Ox Court.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
See, Ox making bank off these internet beefs. I mean, shout out to Ox, man.
Ox is like, come settle it right here.
he capitalizing for sure.
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to be the peacemaker. No need for internet beef.
Peacemaker. I see. Adam West not bringing up Steve Francis is crazy, by the way. So that beef must be personal if he's not going to bring up Steve Francis in the so, but if you want to bring up Steve Francis and another super chat, Adam West, go right ahead. We're not going to stop you. Just you need to give Steve Francis some praise. But real quick, back to Luka, and then we'll get to the topic at hand. Alan R said he clears, talking about Luka and Shai. L Ox. He said that before you even arrived, but now you're here. It's even better. But then Rambo E with the question. He said, "Are Luka and Shai better scorers than peak Steph Curry?" What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, Steph Curry at his peak. So that would be 16, right? That would be 15, 16. I mean, the jump that he had.
That was his peak. 21? Was that the league? He also led the league in scoring.
You got options. He led the league in scoring in 21, 32 a game.
Yeah. But 16 with year, he was like 50, 40, 90.
Peak isn't just 1 year, though. Like, peak is a multitude of years. So that 15, 16 season, is that better than any season that Luka had as a bucket getter? I mean, that was the only year he was 50, 40, 90. Him cracking the long ball was better than any year that Luka did it. I mean, him finishing around the basket. I mean, that's when Steph Curry, I feel like he entered that elite. I feel like he entered that elite category. So
the playoffs wasn't great for him that year, though.
It was 16.
Good. It wasn't great.
Well, I could say the same thing about Luka, though. I mean, Luka, the playoffs weren't great for him this year. What about, last year, the playoff? But Luka's had some damn good playoffs in terms of a scorer. I mean, he lit fire to that Clippers team. So, and that was Ox is Kawhi Leonard is his guy, and that was when Kawhi Leonard was an all-league defender. So, well, that's a tough one, Moss. That's a tough one.
I don't think it's a tough one. There's nothing like peak Steph Curry.
So you got Steph?
For sure. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, game planning against Luka right now, it's not like a waste of time, but you really got to execute that game plan on the defensive end. You got to stick with it. You can't go away from it because the slightest mistake on defense and Luka can take advantage of it. But with Curry at that point, it was almost a waste of time, bro.
Was it book it, Ox? Was it just, okay, we're just going to eat this 30 from him, and there's nothing we can do about it? Like, we can anticipate Luka having a bad shooting night. With Curry, you know what? Okay, we'll just cross off this 32 or this 29 that we're going to get from him officially.
And as good of a scorer as Luka is,
right,
there's times where it's just like, every time that ball left Steph's hands, I was pretty sure I know what's happening.
Was going in.
Yeah.
Man.
You know what I mean? And Luka can score from different points on the, like, he's more of a versatile scorer. He can bully you on the block. He can get to the midi pull up. He got a three. He got a step back three. He has different ways to score. I can acknowledge that. But it's just the absolute potency of Steph Curry's three ball. When you come across that half court line, you got to be there. Like it's different. It's different.
That drug isn't as potent as this one. It doesn't take the effect that this one has.
Right.
It's hard to talk about Luka, but I think when it comes to Luka, give it 5 years, and we're gonna start talking about this dude as one of the greatest scorers to ever play the game. I don't think it's bad to say he's a better scorer than Steph. Steph's clearly the better shooter, free throw shooter, 3-point shooter, more efficient. But who has the higher scoring ceiling? It's got to be Luka, no, right? As far as who has the higher scoring ceiling, Steph.
This is a yap off. Like this is. I'm not even supposed to be on yet. Chill. I'm coming.
You heard Yap and decided to pull up.
And I heard yapping on YouTube, and I heard y'all talking about Luka better score than 2015-16 Steph. Y'all tripping?
Nobody. No. We didn't. I didn't say he was a bet. I just said it was hard.
Why can he not be?
What do you mean? Why could he not be? Mars, can you pull up? I'm at the airport. Can you pull up the numbers on Steph Curry that year, please? Is that possible?
Yeah, I was going to just.
I know the numbers. I'm just saying. Why can he not?
You obviously don't.
I know the numbers.
Steph Curry is the only. Steph Curry in 2016 is the only player to lead the league in scoring.
I want to hear why it's not
and scoring efficiency.
Wait, didn't he have like a 65 true shooting on like 32 a game?
67 true shooting in 2016.
67. What was that? Yeah. What was that? A plus 11 that year, I think.
Plus 12.8.
A plus 12.8. Stop it.
He led the league in efficiency.
Ashamed of yourself. I shouldn't have to come up here and defend Steph Curry. You should be the one to do it.
Oh, I mean, that's one. Again, like I said, that was the only year he went 50, 40, 90. He led the league. He set the record for threes. I think he led the league in free throw percentage that year too, if I'm not mistaken. If he didn't, he was pretty close to it.
Of course he did. It's Steph.
Yeah. I think he led the league in free throw percentage that year. So
he didn't miss the fourth quarter free throw that year either.
Yeah, and he did it. And we're talking about efficiency. I think he only did it.
Let me walk around because I'm about to get loud.
He did it in 34 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm about to get loud. I'm about to get loud in front of all these people.
It was 34.
I'm about to get loud in front of all these people. I'm over here about to disturb the peace because y'all over here capping.
Yeah, it was something like that. But I mean, let's not act like it's not a conversation.
It's not a conversation. It's not. It is not a combo. For 20. Here's the thing. If you're saying if you're saying all time Steph, again, look at where I am. Y'all about to get me banned from the airport. If you're saying all time score, whatever, cool. But you're referencing one season from Steph that it literally has never been repeated before or after, even by Steph himself or Durant.
Okay, so Steph the greatest scorer ever.
Single regular season, he has arguably
the argument. Yeah, that's the point. Like, and then even over Luka doesn't have a year like that. He doesn't have one scoring year. Matter of fact, I'll tell you this right now. Luka doesn't have one scoring year in his career where he was definitively the best scorer in the league. He doesn't even have one, let alone Steph. No, he doesn't. Not even.
No, Embiid exists.
But Embiid existed. Talk, but scoring is just more than efficiency, though. I get
it's not just efficiency.
It's just you're arguing to straight efficiency. What I'm trying to say is it's a conversation because I think Luka has a higher scoring ceiling than Steph Curry, albeit Curry has the better efficiency. But I think Luka Doncic is better at getting his own shot than Steph.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means create.
I know. It's a hypothetical question. It's a hypothetical
Curry at the rim, at the mid-range.
I'm not actually asking.
Ain't nobody cares.
Rhetorical.
Swiper, nobody cares about you yelling in the airport. It's a public place.
Look at people trying to get to their place.
You're on the telephone, so no big deal.
I don't think it's disrespectful.
That's not the point. The point is that him not
what is Steph shooting at the rim?
Are you telling me, Swiper? So are you telling me, Swiper, that in 2016? Don't get me wrong, Mars. As good a year as Steph Curry had, right? He had one of the best seasons as a scorer all time. Was it hands down? He was better. He was a better scorer than Kevin Durant in 2016. Was it not a question?
I'm gonna just answer Swiper's question.
Luka.
Steph was 67% at the rim that year.
And then when he shot 49 from mid range that year in 2016.
Oh, that's a whole different kettle of fish. It was high 40s from mid range.
But
Steph Curry is the only player to lead the league in volume and efficiency. Only player ever to lead the league in those two.
And again, we're saying Luka score, Steph score. And again, Ox knows this because he's a Kings fan, and he don't really like other California teams. So I get it. I'm with him. I don't like California teams either. So this is my thing. is when you're having a conversation about Steph that particular season, I want to say, Chill, he had 13 3-point attempts a game that year. So even if you're accounting for like efficiency, it's the sheer volume of 44% from three on 13 attempts per game. Luka did that one time when he had 10 attempts a game versus the Wolves, and he went nuts that whole round, and he shot 44%. Steph did that for a whole year on three more three-point attempts a game, and then on top of that, he had 402 threes.
That was a record. I won't argue that.
So,
yeah,
so
that was
that's
a
what
record.
I'm saying.
Yes,
like if you're just talking about like scoring, like it's just. But I'm saying, but I think the problem we're running into is like it's almost like we're pigeonholing Steph as a 3-point shooter, like we're pigeonholing Giannis or Shaq as a rim finisher.
Nope, you're not doing that. You're not. The reason why you're not doing that because that was the stance on your argument against Giannis a couple of days ago when you and Mars, y'all dudes attacked me about him playing in the mid post and in the mid range. That was your whole argument. So you can't do that with Giannis because that was exactly what you talked about the whole time. Steph Curry, don't get me wrong. Steph Curry does finish at the rim. I won't argue that, and he does shoot in the mid range. Steph is largely known, however, as a long ball shooter. That's him. That's who he's been. Now, can he shoot off the bounce? Absolutely. He's the best that I've seen. I won't argue that.
But he's primarily a 3-point shooter.
Right. That's who Steph Curry is.
He is long, bro. He primarily
Wait. What is Luka? What is Luka?
Luka primarily shoots the three also.
Does he though, Lars? I mean, he gets downhill with the best of them. Not only does he get downhill with the best of them, he gets to the rim with the best of them. He finishes with the best of them. And I don't think we're talking about a guy in Luka who just stands behind the long ball line, especially considering he doesn't shoot the long ball.
What year are
like
you
Curry.
talking about? What year are you talking about? Because we have clear dips from you. Oh my God! Was this Luka's best scoring year?
Of regular season wise, probably 45% of Luka's shots are threes. 55% of Steph's shots are threes. 22.5% of Steph's shots were directly at the rim, compared to Luka's 12%.
So by the way, even if you think Steph's better, I'll give you that. I said I'll go either way. But to say it's not a conversation when Luka is like what? Second in all time in playoff points per game, maybe top 5 in career points per game. To say that it's not a conversation, this guy's
between 2015,
this guy scored 32 points per game in the last 2 seasons. How is it not a conversation?
No. Between 2015, 16, Steph. If you said 2017, 18, I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, whatever. But that particular year, no, it's not a conversation because
Luka Doncic gave you. I got the stats right here. So I'm giving you 34 points. That's a higher ceiling than Steph's ever done, by the way. On 49 split, 49, 39 from 3. That's really good. To say it's not a conversation, the same year also dropped 70. The same year he was given multiple 40-point, 30-point playoff games.
He did?
I can't buy that it's not a conversation.
How many 40-point playoff games did Luka have?
I can pull up the number.
Luka this year.
Yeah, I don't think he had any 40-point.
Luka this year had a lower true shooting than Steph did 8 years ago. And
the
league-wide efficiency has gone up exponentially. So that should be important in my opinion. Also, raw points per game when it's the 8-year difference in error is also questionable. And
I think Luka's better at getting his own shot than Steph. I think so too.
But what shot are you speaking of? Are you saying because Luka can get to a post-up better?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily a post up, but getting by a guy and getting to the rim. I think Luka. I think that's definitely a conversation. I do think Luka is a better one-on-one player than Steph Curry. I will not argue. I do think that. I think Luka's a better one-on-one player. I think he's better on the box.
But chill. Who was standing in front of Steph 2015-16? Just remind me real quick.
A lot of screens.
Kevin Love.
So if we're gonna, because I just want to be clear, if we're gonna do playoffs, then Luka's argument drops off the face of the earth. Because if we're gonna do playoffs, he sucked as a scorer in 3 of 4 playoff series. So if we're gonna go there
this year,
and we're gonna have that.
So you're talking about this year's
just this year.
Well, no, we're talking about. You didn't see the question, Swipe, but the question was peak Steph Curry and peak this. I don't know if this is peak Luka. Is this peak Luka? Have we seen peak Luka?
It's the best we've seen so far.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
Like,
it's
So,
a peak until
so
we
let me
see
ask you this
otherwise.
question, Moss. Is this Luka in these playoffs? Was he better than Luka? Was he better than Luka when they played against the Clippers, where he basically lit fire to Kawhi Leonard's ass? Is he better
No.
than that dude?
Yeah, if you want to ask if a
The
6-game or
Wolves
7-game sample, he was better than a 22.
But that's what we're going off of, Moss. Because when you talk about the playoffs, that's largely what we do around here.
No,
What
the
you
answer
tell-
is no.
He played
He-
7 games. I mean, this year he played
He
22.
wasn't great
But
versus
this
the
year his
Clippers.
playoffs
He
wasn't
was
as good as
bad
it was
versus.
before.
He wasn't good versus the Thunder, and then he was bad versus the Celtics. So I mean, no. The answer is no.
He wasn't bad versus the Celtics,
He
man.
was bad versus the Celtics. What are
on.
you talking about? So now
He
we're gonna
wasn't
cap.
bad versus
So
the
relative to who-
Celtics.
Relative to being a superstar, so now we
Relative
gonna
to
cap.
who he is, he wasn't very good against Boston. I won't argue that. I won't.
No, he wasn't.
He was
wasn't
getting claimed by
amazing.
Jaylen Brown.
Bad
That's
is-
embarrassing.
Dude, that's like, come on, man. Say he was bad.
I won't argue that.
When you say he's bad,
was
that means
bad.
Luka was a net negative on. Like, come on, Luka was not.
But
a net
we're talking strictly scoring. Luka had a negative true shooting in that series, averaging 27. So, like, as a scorer, I mean, for Luka standards, and like 29, my fault. So, like, we're talking strictly scoring. I mean, when you add in the defense, it gets worse. But scoring wise, he was inefficient, high volume, and wasn't it like he ended up missing like 25 straight threes in that?
Yeah,
series?
he did. He did. He didn't make a 3 for like 3 straight games.
Good
Yeah,
minus
like-
score, yeah.
You could
Bad.
argue the scoring wasn't great.
Boo.
Like, the scoring wasn't great.
Stinky.
The scoring wasn't great for Dallas, to be honest. But But-
Chill. When Tatum did that, we got on him. But Luka had a great, but still had a good series though. That's
I
what I'm
didn't
saying.
say that. I
was
just said
said.
that. I just said that I wouldn't argue that. I literally just said that.
Luka, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Is Luka is he the third best scorer in the league right now?
I think he's the best scorer in the league right now.
How is
I
Luka?
think you're tripping.
Luka's not a top 3 scorer in the league.
I'm
Oh,
saying,
he
is he- is
he
he-
just asked the question.
Yeah, I'm saying I can't ask a basic question.
but it
So
should
I'm
to
saying-
answer your question, Swipe Up.
question.
To answer
But
your
I'm
question,
saying,
Swipe.
so in the playoffs between Jokic, Luka, Giannis, who else is in there?
See, this is not what
LeBron,
we're
I
gonna
guess,
do.
still.
Okay, so this is not what we're gonna do. This is
LeBron.
revisionist
Who-
history. No, because
revisionist for
we're
what?
not gonna question Luka Doncic in the playoffs. This is straight
I mean,
revisionist
we're
history.
having a conversation
Because
about
his first
scoring.
couple of years of the playoffs,
No, that's 2
this
series.
man
That's
was
2
putting
series.
up
That's 2 series.
insane
That's
numbers.
2 series. I don't care about 2 series. That's 2 series. That's 2 series. First rounds, I might add. First round
against
scoring.
good competition.
Against
Oh,
really
alright,
good
alright.
defenses, by the way.
All right.
Yeah,
And it's
so
not
like,
2 series. He didn't play 2 series. He played multiple series. Multiple.
Which I think is interesting
first
too,
2
Swipe.
years.
well,
By the
when-
way,
when-
Luka Doncic. By
You
the
said
way, I
first
think
2 years.
Luka Doncic is what? Luka Doncic is what? Highest career points per game, or second highest in playoff history. Second
You keep
highest
bringing
in
that
closeout
up. That
game
don't
or
mean
something
nothing to
like that.
me.
All of a
Because,
sudden,
right,
he's not
because that don't
playoff
mean nothing
scorer.
to me because he had a limited sample size to start his career off, and then he did it versus the Clippers in back-to-back years.
And I heard you,
lost.
and you mentioned
And
Giannis'
lost,
name.
by the way.
And I think it's
Against
funny
all
that
league
you mentioned
defenders,
Giannis'
by the
name.
way.
Like Giannis has
Oh
done
my gosh!
anything in the playoffs in the last 2 years.
I seen that same team go up against another team and couldn't stop him. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to
No,
tell you.
you brought
I
up
don't know.
Giannis's name. You brought up Giannis's name, right? I heard you bring up
What about
Giannis in playoffs. What has Giannis done the last 2 years other than being hurt and then not? You were
That's
talking about
crazy.
not playing good against the Heat.
That's crazy.
How
So-
good did Giannis
so
play
wait,
against the Heat 2 years ago?
Just do the
He
21
was
run then.
points per game in the fourth
Do the
quarter.
21 run then. Do the 22 run versus the Celtics by himself then.
Okay,
if
then
we're
go
gonna do
back
that.
to 21 and when Luka was doing like 35 in
I'm
playoff
saying
series.
that's what you did. You did one series
I
versus
can't
the
go back to
Clippers.
2020. That's like 4 years ago.
You did. You said first 2 series for Luka. That's what
I
he
said it's
played
revisionist
with.
history. You can go back to because Luka didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah, Luka.
So the wor-
You know
so-
why?
so the
Because
wor-
he couldn't
so the
score
wor-
good enough. That's why.
Oh,
Go
right.
ahead.
Okay,
So the worst year that Luka had, they went to the NBA championship. I'm trying to make sense of that. Right?
Wait. What the worst for Luka?
well, yeah,
had?
because it's the best team he ever had. Yes, that's how it works.
Yeah, that's 1,000%. They had defense. They were a defensive-led team. Chill.
Mm.
Defense.
Both times the Mavericks have had defense. Are the two.
That's a
times they've won in
fact.
the
They've
playoffs.
gone to the
22
Western
and
Conference
24.
Finals and the finals.
Both times.
That
They've had
sounds
good
like any
defenses
team like
twice.
NBA history, like minus like the Denver Nuggets, like last.
Yeah, I was just because Cho said the worst he's played is the furthest they went. I was just explaining. Yes.
teammates.
Both times the worst. Luka, you could argue in 22.
How many great
you know,
defensive
that's
teams
a
have
super-
Steph Curry had in his career, and he's not a plus defensive player.
Every
What does
team
that
that went
mean?
far. Every team
So,
that went
what
far.
I'm saying, so like, they were defensive team. That's
Has
why I got.
Does Steph Curry ever have a real question? Does Steph Curry ever have a series but worse than Luka's in the finals?
Has Steph Curry ever had a series worse than?
There's a
20,
poster
16.
behind me where the guy threw the ball out of bounds and blew a 3-1
Oh,
lead.
you're a LeBron fan. Now I hear. I
Whoa,
see
whoa,
you.
whoa, whoa! Hold on, Swipe.
I
No,
Hold on.
that's a valid answer to the question.
Nah,
you just
Swipe.
asked.
Nah,
That's a
Swipe.
valid
The man
question.
threw a ball out of bounds and blew a 3-1 lead.
Wait, that wasn't scoring. That was passing. Go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
so to your estimation, when you watch Luka in this finals, was he worse than Curry in 2016 in the finals?
Yeah, I mean, no, he was bad. They were both bad.
Right.
They were both bad. And they're both nicked up, so they're guards. The only people that are stamped gonna score in every single round are bigs. And bigs and LeBron. Bigs and LeBron. That's it. So Jokic, Giannis,
Luka some credit.
LeBron.
I think it was also. I don't want to make excuses here. It sounds like it makes excuses. Some of those games he just ran out of gas, and that's why his efficiency was down. Because you look at the first half of those games, he's coming out 20 points easily, making every single shot. Fourth quarter comes around, he's out of gas because no one else is picking up his slack.
He got 20 points in the first quarter one time, by the way. That happened one time, and we gave him
that
credit
happened
for
like
that
the first two games of the series in Boston.
He had 20. No, but we gave him credit for that versus the Wolves. The problem is Luka is a shot hunter from three, and you try that like wasn't.
I'm not denying that Luka chucks a lot of threes. No, Luka chucks a lot of threes.
We had him. Yeah, we had him. We lost him.
Well, thanks to Swiper's forced intermission.
By the way, Luka Doncic. By the way, Luka, 29 points per game, 47% from the field. Again, the 3-point was terrible. The free throw was terrible. He's never been a good free throw shooter. If Luka was bad, I want to get his thoughts on what Kyrie was in those finals. Because if Luka was bad, then I must.
Oh, we already know what that was.
Kyrie also had a bad series scoring.
But
bad series in general.
If Luka's considered bad, then Kyrie can't be considered bad. You got to give him worse than bad. Because Kyrie was worse than Luka in that series.
I think he averaged 15 a game.
Well, I mean, you can both be bad, but one be worse.
And that's why I was asking the question.
Bad, then Kyrie's got to be worse than bad.
Yeah, he played worse than Luka. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
But I mean, there's also they held to different standards because
especially like those second half of those games, like where he couldn't find his three. Luka was definitely he was running out of gas. So in those second half of games, especially those first two games in Boston, where he was coming out on fire, he had like 20 points first half. He was cooking. He couldn't miss, and he was the only one scoring in those first two games because Kyrie had the yips, and everyone else just PJ Washington you couldn't depend on. And then the second half, Luka's gassed, so he shot chucking a bunch of threes, and he was clanking all over the place, and it brought his efficiency way down. The series happened like 3 months ago. Like, I don't know how we just forgot that happened.
I have a difficult time with the gas thing, and the reason why
he was tired.
Yeah, I do get that. But
part of it's because he's out of shape.
That's where I'm going with this, right? And guys who are in shape, like Anthony Edwards, who really wasn't prepared to go that far, this deep in the playoffs. Okay, I can get with that. But if you know for a fact that, we're going to be in the playoffs and I got to be better prepared physically to be there because you had already been there just literally 2 years ago. Luka, if I'm not mistaken, with the exception of not this season that just passed, but in the 23 season, that was the only time. No, that's not true because they missed the playoffs in 18 too. Since Luka's been the man, since Luka's been the man, I think he's been in the playoffs. I think he only missed the playoffs twice in 6 years. I think that's what it is. So with him being in the playoffs, he's got to do a better job of taking care of his body. So the idea of him being gassed, I have a difficult time with that. Also, knowing that, okay, if
they're also hunting him on defense too, and that was the thing, and it also drained his energy.
That goes back to being physically able to do your job. And if I'm not physically able to do my job, then I'm already putting my team in a bad spot, and that's a Luka thing.
And he had like a laundry list of injuries too. I don't it wasn't major injuries. He's still on the court, but he had a laundry list of injuries.
Taking care of his body more than
that wore down. Yeah, I do agree. Luka has to get in better shape. I hope he does it this offseason because Luka in shape. I thought Luka was on trajectory being the best player in the world, but
he may still be. He's only 25. But interestingly, Shai was also part of that question. He just got bypassed. It was Luka and Shai better than Pete Steph. But I guess everyone's taking Steph over Pete Shai as a scorer.
I'll take Steph. I can't take the disrespect for Luka. If you say Pete Steph's better, I'm not gonna like.
You think it's disrespectful to say?
Swiper said, was it a conversation? Like, do we not know who?
It 100% is a conversation. You're not going to tell me that it's not a conversation for a guy that's 34 game. Which is something that Steph Curry didn't do. Sure, he wasn't as efficient as Steph Curry, and he might not shoot the long ball as good as Steph Curry, but the other stuff, Mars, you mentioned that you mentioned Luka going to the rim, I think 12% or something like that.
12% of his shots are
12% of his shots. So the other 88% of his shots are at the long ball line, in the mid-range, and in the mid-post. Or that's where they are. And for a guy to be averaging 34 a game, shooting primarily at the long ball line, in the mid range, and in the mid post. That's pretty damn good. I like to think so. When less than almost 10% of my shots being at the rim, I would think that a guy at 6'7" played more at the rim. It just seems like Luka plays more at the rim than he does. I guess that's largely due to him finishing around the rim the way he does. It just looks like he plays more around the rim. Those numbers that you threw out, I did not know that, but he just looks like he plays more around the rim.
Yeah, I can get that. But I want to ask if Luka and Steph is a conversation, I'm not here to argue or anything. I'm just hosting. So, adding on to that, who is Luka not in the conversation with? Like, what level of scorer do we get to where we say, okay, these guys are just definitively better than Luka? He's not in that tier. Or is he in the tier with everyone? Like, where do we draw the line?
Give it 3 years. Luka's going to be up there with the best. Maybe not the tier. Maybe not like MJ, but like top 10, top 5 scorers to ever play the game. His numbers are already ridiculous. His playoff numbers are already ridiculous. He's not going to get worse. So 5 years down the line, you're looking, oh, snap, 33, 34, 35, playoffs 30, 31, 47% from the field. Oh, he's got this big-time closeout game in the playoffs when he needs it. Oh, my God, is Luka not like one of the best scorers ever?
That was nice politicking because you said 3 years from now he'll be in the conversation.
Well,
Today,
kind of young.
Who's he not in the conversation with?
I don't think he's done it long enough.
Peak for peak. Just
okay,
peak Luka.
Peak
Who is he not in the conversation with scoring wise today? Because if he's in the conversation with Steph, is there a tier above Steph that he's not in that group, or is he with Kevin Durant, Kobe?
I don't think he's in the conversation with Jordan. Peak for peak. I don't think he's in the to be honest with you, and this may be a hot take. I don't think he's in the conversation with James Harden as a scorer. Peak for peak. I'm not sure that he's in that conversation with James Harden. Peak for peak and what James Harden was doing. I don't think he's in that conversation with Jordan. I don't think he's in the conversation with Bryant. Kevin Durant. I think the thing about Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant lets guys off the hook. I think Kevin Durant could have been a much better scorer than what he already was, and he was fantastic. But I think that he let guys off the hook a lot of times. Like he'd go for 40, and all right, that's enough. Where he could have went for 60. He could have very well went for 65, but I think he let guys off the hook a lot. But in my estimation, I mean, peak for peak, I mean, Jabal, Chamberlain, I mean, peak for peak. I'm not sure, Mars. I'm not.
Casual, you had an issue with James Harden.
Because I think Luka's better. I think Luka's James Harden in the playoff translation. That's been my thing for years. I think Luka's Harden with playoff translation. So I think Luka's a better scorer than Harden.
What now? What are you basing that on? Because when I see Harden, even though Harden shot a lot of long balls, I'd like to think that from what Mars just told me about him, about Luka being at the rim, I think James Harden was definitely at the rim more. That's why he got to the free throw line as much as he did. Because I feel like he was at the rim more, and he was dunking the basketball on guys. He was finishing around the rim. Don't get me wrong; there wasn't much in the mid range with James Harden, even though he could knock down the mid range, right? Even though he could knock down the mid range, there wasn't much else. It was either at the long ball line or at the rim with James Harden, and how he manipulated the defense, his ability to handle the ball. I think he was a better ball handler than. I think he was a better dribbler. Let me rephrase the ball handler. I think he was a better dribbler than Luka. I think he lulled guys to sleep. I think he was more effective as a dribbler than Luka, and I think he was better at the rim. I didn't see anybody at that time that was scoring the basketball like him. I just didn't.
Luka does a lot of the same things too. Sneaky, athletic, the way they get to the rim. Regular season, I'd give it to Harden. I think Harden's the better shooter, but.
Now, wouldn't that now when you say Harden was the better shooter, that's the kind of era that we're playing in now, where the defense is getting stretched. So at the long ball line, James Harden, with him being a better shooter, that would make him. I think that right there might be the separator, considering that this is where we are. Guys don't play at the rim nearly as much. Not only do guys not play at the rim nearly as much, guys play at the long ball line way more. So, with that being said, if he's a better shooter than Luka at the long ball line, not just at the long ball line, in transition, that right there would be the separator. Especially in I want to say 2018, 2019, Harden was incredible. There aren't many guys, like we actually had to have a conversation, which drove me nuts, about him and Jordan. We actually had to have that conversation. That drove me nuts, Mars, that we actually had to have that conversation. But it was a conversation. I don't think that we there with Luka, where we have to have a conversation about Luka and Jordan in terms of scoring. I don't think we have to have that.
Interesting. I got a super chat for Ox. I'm gonna wait for him to pull back up. Football Breakdown said Steph injected more fear on defenses. Do you guys agree with that? Steph is more frightening than Luka?
I would agree, because I've always said, because as a LeBron Cavs guy, I'm wearing a LeBron Team USA shirt, by the way.
Oh my god.
W Glaze. Nah, but as someone who had to see that man in the finals year after year, and then against the Lakers playoffs year after year, Steph, KD kind of has an argument too, is probably the only player in my lifetime when he shot the ball, I expected it to go in every single time. I give KD that a little too. But Steph, every time he shoots the ball, it might be because I have a little PTSD bias, but whenever Steph shoots the ball, I expect it going like every time. I don't expect him to miss a three.
Crazy, because he misses 60% of them.
Well, you know, okay, so the best hitter, Barry Bonds, misses 70% of his at-bats.
Sounds like he trash. But I want to ask, before I get to the next super chat, Casual, do you think Luka is on KD's level as a scorer, peak for peak?
I got to look at the numbers. KD's definitely the better shooter. It comes down to efficiency, volume. It depends what year's KD's peak too, as far as scoring peak. Would it be the OKC MVP year?
His most points per game is 2014. His most
MVP year in OKC
seasons are in Golden State. But 2012 to 14, you can't really go wrong with either, because
our peak years when you were scoring the best, or when you were the best? Because I can average less points but still be like
a better scorer.
Yes. Like Jordan in 92, he's better than Jordan in 89, and that Jordan averaged 34 games.
Yeah, true.
Is he a better scorer than Jordan in 89, or just a better player?
I definitely think he's a better scorer than Jordan in 89. And the reason why I feel like, I think he's a better scorer than Jordan in 89. He was a lot smarter. So I know this may sound ridiculous, but you know, KD, I think his peak scoring years were when he was with the Golden State Warriors, because he was getting different looks, different coverages, one-on-one coverages, and you can actually see how he gets busy. Not only just in one-on-one coverages, but also in double teams in that kind of system. And knowing when to shoot the ball, when to pass the ball, and the kind of shots that he was getting, I thought those were peak KD years as a scorer. But he's better than Luka in the mid-range. He's better than Luka on pull-up jump shots. He's better than Luka one-on-one. I think he's better than Luka at the rim. I will even go as far as to say that he's better than Luka at the long ball line on pull-ups. I just think that he's an overall better all scorer. I'm not saying that it's a wash, but I just look at KD as a scorer, and I look at Luka as a scorer, and I feel like the variety with KD is more than what it is with Luka, and I think that's where the separation is. Peak for peak. I'm
just a host. I'm not arguing. I wanted to once again get to another super chat, but I did have an interesting graphic I wanted to show some people. But Rambo E 1996 said, "Chill, you can't undersell 50, 45, 90."
No, you can't. Am I underselling that? Because maybe I'm just kind of saying 50,
I mean,
40,
it's hard to undersell it, but like, of all the 50, 40, 90 seasons, he's the only one that was a high volume 3-point shooter. Like, no one else is shooting like 7 threes.
That was pretty impressive.
He did it on 11. So like, shooting 50% from the field when you take 11 threes a game is more difficult than shooting 50% from the field when you take 2 threes a game. So I think it is pretty impressive. Yeah. Football Breakdown said Luka spams threes. Dude missed 20 straight this finals. Okay, it was 20. I didn't know the exact number. Yeah. Sensei Debo said Swiper is disgusting. I feel like the basketball gods cut Swiper out for us because he was saying some interesting things. Alanar said Embiid is the only person who has an argument for being a better scorer than Luka. So he's saying they're the 2 best scorers in the league.
I think Jokic has an argument, but
Jokic. Are those your top?
I think you can't have a scoring argument without Jokic getting at least a conversation. Not saying Jokic is better, but without a conversation.
He's in the conversation at least.
His little hook, his push shot, that might be the most overpowered shot in the game.
I think Embiid in that mid-range, I think that's the separator though. When it comes to him and Joker. I think Joker on the box is just as good, and I think Joker getting to the rim. I don't think Embiid gets to the rim in the ways, because I think he's clunky. More than anything with Joel Embiid. I feel like with Joker getting in better shape, I think his game has gotten smoother. Joel Embiid, his game just seems clunkier and heavier, especially especially on the wing. And I feel like, but with Joker, I'm sorry, with Embiid, that mid range, I mean, he could hit 7, 8 of them in a row with defenses in his face. I'm not sure I could say that about Joker. It just looks like it's money, to be honest with you. It just looks like I could hit this all night. It looks like maybe it's because of the defense, but it just looks like it's money.
To follow on with that, another person saying Embiid, he said, Doggy said Embiid, healthy. Luka and KD are the top 3. No particular order, but that's his top 3.
KD still to this day?
KD scored that ball, man. But yes, I don't know. Alluding to Jokic, he said he's not aggressive enough, and that 3 ball is shit.
He doesn't hunt the shot as much as Luka does, for sure. And Embiid, yeah. And the 3 ball even carried into the Olympics a little bit too. From the playoffs to the Olympics, he just hasn't been able to hit it at all in the year of 2024.
Yeah.
He's a bum. But speaking of 3-point shots, Nico asked, do you think we'll ever reach a point in the NBA where someone hits 50% from 3 on more than 5 attempts a game?
Maybe like the year 3000. Maybe.
I mean, how many attempts did Kyle Korver take when he was 50%?
What field goal percentage was Grayson Allen shooting from 3 this year?
Kyle Korver was 49% on 6 attempts. So we've been close before.
Oh, so we've been close. Okay, so never mind. We're a lot closer.
Now, here's the difference, though, Maz.
I thought. Sorry.
Here's the difference, though, Maz. The difference is, 1, the volume now has gone up. 2, guarding at the long ball line is way more prevalent today than what it was, let's say, 10 years ago when Kyle Korver was shooting it. In fact, offenses are based. When Kyle Korver was doing it,
he was 49.
When Kyle Korver was doing it, we were coming into the 3-point revolution. Even though when Phoenix was doing it, like, people hadn't bought into it yet. When Kyle Korver was doing it, teams had now started buying into it, and now it's become a part of everybody's offense.
46%.
So
Kyle Korver was 4 made 3s away, though. Chill. 4 made 3s from doing it. If he just made 4 of the 3s he missed, he would have done it.
And it's got to be a Kyle Korver type dude or a Grayson Allen type dude. It can't be a star. It's got to be your off-ball sniper who comes off screens. It can't.
I'm just thinking. The reason why I'm saying this, Maz, is because I'm thinking about how teams guard the long ball today and how defenses are today, specifically at the long ball line, chasing guys off the long ball, doubling at the long ball, pick and rolls, closing out at the long ball line. I think that they were guarding the long ball, but the revolution back then was already what it was. Now teams pay way more attention. So to have a guy shooting 12 threes and cracking 7 of them, or a guy shooting 14 threes and cracking 7 of them per game, 8 of them per game. Wow.
It would have to be a Luke Kennard type. That would have to be
Luke Kennard.
You barely shoot 5.
This guy was let me see.
Because if you're somebody that's a focal point of the offense, there's no way
because you're not going to get enough good looks.
Luke Kennard.
There's no way teams will allow you to do that.
Luke Kennard in 23, so the season before last, was 49% on 4.5 on 4.6 3-point attempps.
And
but when he went to Memphis, it was only a 24 game sample. He shot 54% on almost 6 attempts.
And and the majority of those are wide open looks.
Exactly. Right? It has to be your role player.
Luke Kennard was 2 made 3s away from doing it. Well, we'd have to shoot a couple more a game. But if he made 2 more 3s, he would have been at 50% on like 4.5 attempts. So he was close. So we're getting close. We just need that archetype only to shoot wide open and get 5 attempts, and maybe they can do it. But before we move on to what was meant, the show was meant to be about 48 minutes in, but I feel like we had some good topics and I read some super chats. So don't complain at me. You guys wanted to talk about different things. We have a Hall of Fame member in the back, so they're going to join us today. I don't know how long he can stick around for, but we do have a very interesting segment I want to get into later. Hopefully he can stick around for that. But we got Multi Kenny. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, how you guys doing? Can you hear me well?
We hear you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate it. Glad to be here.
How much time you got, Kenny?
I got as long as I'm allowed.
And I'm the host today, man. You can stay as long as you want, man.
Yeah, I'm a working man and stuff like that, and I'm a supervisor. So if I do gotta step away for like a quick second, like besides
you
that,
good? We ain't seen Ox in half an hour, man.
Yeah.
Supervisor, hey man, supervisor running the ship, so we good.
You good. But I want to get into the topic of the day. The title is the greatest international player that the NBA has ever seen. But this all started when a certain Greek basketball president said Nikola Jokic is the second best player after Michael Jordan. I want to ask if you guys have heard this and for your thoughts on it. It was Dimitris Yiannakopoulos who said Nikola Jokic, he left it in this comment right here. He said Jokic is the best player after MJ. I feel like most people are going to disagree with that statement.
Right.
But I want to ask, does it make sense to you that he says something like that? Does it make sense that he can view Jokic as the second best player to ever live?
Well, it makes more sense than Jack saying Tatum's the GOAT. So we'll just start with that.
Okay, more than zero. Nice. More than zero. But chill.
Boss, there's people in Europe and there's people overseas that think Oscar Schmidt is better than Michael Jordan. There's people who think that Sabonis, there's people who think that these international players are better than a lot of your favorite basketball players. And for him to see Joker and to see it firsthand, right? He saw Jordan in the international game, the way the ball moves, the skill set of Joker, how long Joker has been around, him seeing other big guys. Because a lot of you guys don't know this, but guys like Vlade Divac and Sabonis, those guys were big deals back in the days as big guys. So internationally, those guys were a big deal. A guy like Joker, who is an advanced version of all of these guys, Jordan being smaller, only playing in the NBA. He did play in the Olympics, but for them to see Joker more and to see him up close, is it ridiculous for him to think that? I mean, I think my mother's the most beautiful girl I ever seen in my whole life.
But do you agree with him?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't. But I do understand where he's coming from.
Ken, do you agree with Mr. Yiannakopoulos?
I understand where he's coming from more than anything. Kind of piggybacking off of what Chill said. It's what you're exposed to. It's kind of the same thing in like in America. We're very biased towards American athletes and who we think are the best American athletes. Like just look at the ESPN article, which barely had any of the top 100 athletes of the 2000s or the 2000s. Barely had any Asian or African athletes. But primarily heavily favored the American athletes. You're just going to be more biased to what you're exposed to. I think it's still very hyperbolous to think that it's Jokic over even other European players like Dirk or or even if you really want to go there, like even saying something like Tony Parker or things of that nature. If you're just talking about a European bias, but for what Jokic is doing, and he's definitely having a great career, I can understand it. I don't agree with it though, but I can understand it.
Okay. It seems like I'm not gonna be able to convince anyone that he's the second best after Michael Jordan. So I want to reframe the question because I feel like a large part of why he's not in that tier is because of his questionable, I'll say, defense. Is that fair? His defense holds him back in these conversations. So offensively, just defense doesn't exist in basketball. It's strictly an offensive game. Somehow we just remove defense. Can he be in the conversation with the likes of Michael Jordan, or is he still not close?
If you're going to do like who's the best offensive players ever,
yes,
it's not a horrible conversation because he can get the offensive rebound, he can run an offense for setting up his teammates and scoring the basketball at a high level. It's not a conversation at all.
I think that size, being a big guy, that matters to a lot of people. You have a different advantage when you're a bigger guy, especially when you're a bigger guy with a similar skill set to a 6'5" or a 6'6" guy.
Yeah, a guy who can run the floor.
Right, and you're able, right, and you're able to execute. So a guy like Joker, as smart as he is, as nimble as he is, the scorer that he is, the distributor that he is. Okay, sure, we're not going to be able to say there aren't people. There are people who are like, yo, this isn't even a conversation with him and Jordan as offensive players. But when you look at what Joker has done, I mean, as a bucket getter, I mean, I don't think he's the scorer Jordan is, but when you're talking about all the other stuff, reading defenses, being able to pass, knowing when to pass, getting off the basketball, allowing other guys to get involved in the game as an offensive player, getting on the glass, pushing the break. I mean, I don't think it's ridiculous to say that Joker is in that conversation with Jordan as an offensive player. Now, don't get me wrong, Jordan as a scorer, you know, finishing around the rim, and I think that's something completely different. But, you know, overall, I don't think it's a ridiculous conversation.
Kenny?
I think as an offensive player, especially the playmaker that Jokic is, I'm actually really impressed with it, especially from his position and things of that nature. And even his scoring, like, it's not something that's super flashy. I love watching Jokic close to the rim. That's my favorite thing to watch Jokic do is how his touch around the rim. And funny enough, even though I'm nowhere near his size, is like I try to mimic that, just that soft touch around the rim. I think that finesse style game is just great to see, and it's super effective. And I think effective.
Can you teach that? Can you teach that? That touch you just took. Can you teach that?
No. I don't think you can, because I think it's the same.
Either.
I think it's the same way as can you teach Curry's 3-pointer? You can't. You just it's depth perception. It's kinesthetic awareness of your body. It's spatial awareness with the ball in the hoop. It is, you can teach the right fundamentals physically to release at a certain point or things of that nature, but to really get a grasp of performing a movement like that, it's something you can't. It's a talent. It's a talent.
I agree, but I got cooked on TikTok for saying that. So
yeah, but overall, like him being one of the top offensive players, I think you can easily say that, because he's more than just a scorer. He's a playmaker, and we talk about gravity a lot when we talk about the best offensive players, and his gravity, you know, he's getting picked up like right away, because they know that they need to guard him pretty much from everywhere, because he can shoot the 3-ball, even though his 3-ball has been fluctuated, but we know he can shoot it. So it's like, I think he's a very complete offensive player, in my opinion.
Sure.
So it seems like everyone's like, he could be in the conversation. I want to ask, is Michael Jordan the bar in that conversation as best offensive player ever, or is it someone else? Who right now, in your opinion, just strictly offense, who is the best player ever if defense didn't exist?
Sure. Might be Chamberlain, but
yeah,
it might be Chamberlain.
Yeah, of pure numbers. Yeah.
I think it's Chamberlain, if I'm being honest with you. Offensive players, Mars. I mean, wow. Jordan was just so dynamic, just at the rim, and it was so eye-popping of what he was able to do, finishing over bigger guys. I mean, we can't take the defense out of it. I mean, they devised the defense to stop him, and the defense wasn't just doubling him. The defense was body slamming him. That was the defense. That's the way that we're going to get. That's the way that we're going to slow this guy down. And the way that he was able to fix that was he expanded his game offensively. He got off the ball more. He got more guys involved in the game. He put a fall-away 18-footer in his game, which made him now impossible because he's got a smaller guy in Joe Dumars on him. So when you add stuff like that, I mean, that makes him virtually impossible. But like I said, size matters when it comes to the game of basketball. And bigger guys, it's difficult when you have the same skill set as a smaller guy to go away from that. It's really difficult to go away from that.
So you got Jordan or you got Will?
Man, no defense. Chamberlain. I'm taking Chamberlain every day.
Hey, so Chill has Wilt Chamberlain is the best offensive player ever. Casual,
the
best
Chamberlain.
offensive player ever.
Do I stick with the gimmick? Do I say LeBron?
I mean, we're talking no defense.
I mean, I don't know if LeBron a gimmick. I mean, you can go with LeBron if you want. Just who do you think the best offensive player ever? No matter what they do on offense, they don't have to play defense, and all of a sudden they're back on offense again. Defense doesn't exist.
I'm sticking with LeBron.
Want to elaborate?
I'm sticking with. Well, I mean, I'm thinking about a guy who can give me 30 points in a game. Could get you more than that. At any level, regular season, playoff, first round, second round finals, that matters. While also being at the top of the key with the ball in his hands, not just scoring, he's also running the offense, getting guys open, seeing where the best available, where should the ball go, who should have it. That's LeBron. And he can also get you about 10 to 15 assists in a given night. He also rebound the basketball a little bit. His IQ is underrated when it comes to offense. And LeBron might have the best offensive IQ in the game.
Mm-hmm.
As far as reading an offense, reading the floor, knowing who to give the ball to, what kind of shot to take, what's the situation. It's LeBron.
So we got Wilt, we've got LeBron. Kenny, you could be a tiebreaker or you could be a contrarian.
I'm gonna be a contrarian. I don't think it's Wilt. It's unfortunately, I don't. It's like, well, for me, it's more of a numbers game. And for LeBron, I can definitely see the argument there. Where I start disagreeing is sometimes with his playmaking. I think it's a really good skill to have. I feel like sometimes he falls back on it too much. He becomes too passive with his playmaking. I feel like if he stayed aggressive a little bit more, I think he would be a better offensive player. But I think the reason why he has to get off the ball sometimes is because his jump shot is a little shaky at times. So he has to facilitate a lot more. And I think that's just where he feels more comfortable. Like you said, he has a great IQ. He has a great mind for the game. But something that I've noticed for people who are high IQ or just smart people, sometimes they overthink things. And I think that sometimes he does that. It's not just, all right, I just need to get a bucket. Sometimes there's a beauty to the simplicity of it and just, I need to go get a bucket.
Sure.
Then I start looking at, when I think of just pure scoring, I look at someone like KD, especially before he got older and he got his Achilles, where he was more explosive towards the rim.
Yeah.
But then when we go to that form, that's when we start lacking when it comes from a playmaking standpoint. Jordan, I think he's an underrated playmaker. I really do think he's an underrated playmaker. Especially like Chill was saying earlier, he has the skill both on the ball and off the ball. And I think because of his role in the triangle, it wasn't his primary thing to do. It was to finish the play. But I feel like Jordan, I think, is the most complete if he had a better three-point shot. But I know just back then the three-point shot just wasn't as prevalent, especially for a scorer like that. So my pick would be Jordan.
3 different answers. So we had Jordan, LeBron, and Wilt Chamberlain. None of them were Jokic. So I guess Jokic isn't the second best offensive player or the second best player overall. So shout out to Demetrius Yiannopoulos, but it seems like the panel does not approve of the statement. So
I don't.
I think Chill put in perspective earlier about what he's been seeing overseas and all that. That's just like what he's biased to, and he's going to prop up his guy. He's exposed more to that guy than we are. I think Chill put in perspective.
So it seems like we understand why Penn had Arvydas Sabonis in his top 15.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's what it sounds like. It seems like we understand Penn's perspective too. So.
And see the thing too, Mars, when I talk about Chamberlain, I mean, I of course I think Jordan was better. I won't argue that because I care about what you did, when you did it, how you did it. You know, Jordan's ability to take the ball off the glass and go with it and finish in transition. Jordan's ability in the half court to get other guys involved. I don't think that Jordan's playmaking is underrated. Jordan was a fantastic distributor and a finisher at the rim. I feel like Chamberlain created such a disadvantage for defenses, not only because he played on the block, because he played in the mid post too, and his ability to pass out the double team. And the fact that he was so much bigger than everybody else and the opposing force that he was, God damn, Chamberlain was impossible. How the hell are we going to stop him? If all we doing is just dealing with him on offense, how the hell are we going to deal with him?
Chamberlain.
That's why they had to change the rules for him.
Yeah, he was a solid player for sure. Definitely one of the 200 best players you've ever seen.
So my thing,
like 49.
My thing, kind of just taking off of what Chill's point was, like I agree with. When we're talking about Jordan's playmaking, is just that the reason why I say that is I think he's getting underrated just because I think right now it's a trendy thing to hate on the 90s. So they try, especially when they're trying to do the comparison between him and LeBron, they make it seem like, oh, Jordan can't pass. Look at his assist, or Jordan can't pass. Look at what LeBron can do. And that's why I say, like, yeah, I think Jordan's playmaking has gotten completely underrated because we're just going to look at assist numbers, things of that nature. That's what I mean. He's underrated just by the masses. They just see him as a scorer, and that's where I'm coming from with that.
Casual, do you underrate Michael Jordan as a playmaker?
I don't. Whenever I talk about playmaking between the two, or passing, I never say Jordan's a bad passer. I just say LeBron's just much better. I never say Jordan's a bad passer. I say just LeBron's much better.
Yeah. You're someone with sense.
Yeah, I do think he is.
Don't glaze him. He's just a regular mediocre sense. But before we move on, Goose said Michael Beasley better. And what he's alluding to right now is the biggest news of the day. Michael Beasley was the Big 3 MVP. That's the breaking news. That's the biggest news of the offseason.
That's what you call a transition right there.
Michael Beasley, man. The MVP of the Big 3. One of the most talented players we ever seen. One of the best college freshmen we ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Should have averaged 50 in the NBA, but they were hating on him. But trolling aside, I want to ask you guys, do you think Michael Beasley was good enough for the NBA? And if yes, why do you think it didn't work out for him? Even though he had an 11-year career. But,
can I go first? Because I could say the reason why I want to go first is I'm aware enough to know I didn't watch enough Michael Beasley, so I'm trying to get my point out the way. But from what I've seen and just from the overall takes that I've seen, I think Michael Beasley was definitely good enough to be in the NBA. He just didn't fit the role. He wasn't good enough to be the role that he needed to be. Like, he's not someone who you want to be your primary scorer. There's other people that you would want to have in that position, and I think that just kind of just phased him out for what his skill set is. That's the best I got with that.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Michael Beasley's name. I'm not too familiar with Michael Beasley's name, and this is why I said my name's casual for a reason. I'm not familiar enough with Beasley's name to speak on it, but what I will say is it has to probably do with what he was talking about, Kenny, about just probably the mental, not understanding where he's supposed to be on the NBA floor, his role specifically. I would assume he thought he was a superstar, and the NBA was trying to push him to a role player, and he probably couldn't accept that and couldn't excel in that. I would like to say that, but again, someone correct me if I'm wrong.
He was one of those guys. He was one of those guys who needed to stay in school from a maturity standpoint, not necessarily from a game standpoint, but from a maturity standpoint. He could have used staying in school an extra year, because I don't think from a maturity standpoint he was ready for the NBA and what it was, the day in and day out grind of being a pro basketball player. I think he could have just learned to be more mature as an adult, not necessarily just hanging around those adults in the NBA, but hanging around people your age and becoming more mature. His game, I feel like it would have aged better had he stayed in school a little bit longer, because I feel like he would have been more prepared for the pro game. I mean, he was one of the best. I thought that season, I thought he was the best player in the country, but just because you're the best player in the country does not mean that you better. I mean, that means that you're ready for the NBA. And I didn't think that he was ready for the NBA at that particular time from a maturity standpoint. I think one of the main reasons why his career flamed out was because I don't think he really knew who he was. And I think that was largely due to his maturity.
It had to be personality, because I'm looking at his numbers now because I wanted to see how old he was when he left the NBA. He said his last season was with the Lakers in that infamous first year with the Lakers for LeBron. He only played 26 games, and he was 30 years old. And all I remember from Michael Beasley is a guy who definitely was talented. It had to be personality, and it had to be mental. Because Michael Beasley's talent, whenever I would see him, I'm like, that guy can get you 10 to 20 points. That guy's good. And it just has to be understanding his role and maybe some locker room. I don't want to speculate, but it has to be something personality and mental-wise, because he's talented. For him to leave the game at 30 with his talent, he should be right on NBA benches till he's like 36. But it has to be something like mental or personality.
Yeah. Miles, we talking about a guy at that time when he was coming up. I mean, he played at Kansas State. I mean, the Big 12 was a big deal in terms of college basketball. There weren't many conferences that were better. He was far and away the best player in the Big 12, and it wasn't a question whether he wasn't. He just mentally, I mean, whatever you're looking for, he had the face-up game. He had to get to the basket. He had to back to the basket. He wasn't bad in transition. He looked like the kind of player who his game was tailor-made for the NBA. I feel like what I equated to is I equated to food. The food wasn't ready when you took it out the oven and you tried to serve it. And I think that's who he was. I think he was a guy who you undercooked it. 100% you did.
Yeah, everyone knows my thoughts on Michael Beasley. That's one of the, I've said many times, that's one of the most talented players I've ever seen. One of the best freshman college seasons I've ever seen. In recent memory, for me, it's him, Anthony Davis, Zion. Yeah.
Greg Oden.
I ain't see too much of Greg Oden
Yeah,
because I ain't
that's
go. KD. Yeah,
all I gotta say
like,
about him,
that's the regard I hold it.
All I gotta say about him, Mars, is, in his words, I'm your favorite player's favorite player.
Hey, he wasn't wrong, man. He wasn't wrong.
I'm your favorite player's favorite player.
I think there are mental reasons that Michael Beasley struggled. I mean, he got suspended for violating the league's drug policy, I think, a couple times. I think he ended up getting cut from Phoenix because he ended up getting in trouble. He had going to Miami. I think most people have said that was not ideal for him. Miami was probably not a situation you want to put Michael Beasley in as a rookie because
305.
It just wasn't great for him. But there's also, I think there's basketball reasons. I think he came in at a time where he was probably too small to be a power forward, but he wasn't quick enough to play the three. So he was kind of like in that tweener mode. And the game was moving more and more towards analytics, and that man just didn't shoot threes. Not that he couldn't. He just would rather shoot a 21-footer than a 22-footer. Michael Beasley wanted to shoot mid-range jumpers.
Like one.
And you will see, like, he shot pretty good percentages from three. He just didn't shoot them. So I think the analytics part of it, a heavy isolation player. So, like, basketball-wise, I think the fit was questionable. But Michael Beasley spoke a bit about how he just didn't feel like coaches, in particular Eric Spoelstra, appreciated him. I wanted to ask if you guys have heard this and if it changes your perspective on Michael Beasley a little bit. This is something he said about Eric Spoelstra.
Every highlight, every game I ever played with Spo, every time I touched the ball, whether I got the ball for 1 second or 3 seconds, you hear Spo on the side, move the ball, best option you got. You don't shut the up. I came back from China the first time. Spo said, hey man, this not dipsy do basketball, so you ain't going like, what the you mean dipsy do basketball? Nigga, stop disrespecting the way I play basketball. You can never play like this. You never think the way I think. Watch every.
Okay, with him saying those things about Eric Spoelstra, how do you view Michael Beasley? I mean, I know it might play into he might view the game incorrectly, but how do you view Michael Beasley's perspective on his time of Eric Spoelstra?
Wait a minute, Mars, because I mean, I think that's a different perspective now, because this is evidence that, you know, somebody could ruin your game. If you're talking, and this is why I said him staying in school would have been, because maybe Miami wasn't the place for him. Maybe him playing somewhere else after he came out of school, they would have developed him better. That kind of stuff mentally ruins your game. As soon as you touch the ball, get off the ball. My game is having the ball. And you know that. That's why I'm here. That's why you didn't just pick me because I'm the best player in the country. You picked me because you know my game. So now when I get here, you're immediately trying to change my game into something that I'm not. Move the ball, or this isn't dipsy-do. Well, that's the reason why, whatever the hell dipsy-do means, but that's the reason why I'm here. Right?
Nah,
that's
right.
That's the reason why I'm here, because I handle the basketball the way I do, because I shoot the basketball the way I do, because I create the way I do with the ball. When you're doing stuff like get off the basketball, move the ball, this ain't the park, this ain't New Jersey. When you're doing stuff like that, what you're doing is breaking this person down mentally. And I'm already immature as it is as a 19-year-old. That's hampering his game and making him worse. Maybe Miami wasn't the place for him. Not only him staying in school, Miami wasn't the place for him. And remember who we're talking about too. We're talking about Eric Spoelstra in 2000. Was it 8 or 9? Did he show up?
It's like one of his very first years as head coach.
Yeah, I think it was
2008.
Right. So 2008. We're talking about a coach in Eric Spoelstra who just literally got the job. This isn't Eric Spoelstra today, the seasoned head coach, the X and O guy. This is a completely different Eric Spoelstra. So he had a different agenda. I think he could have very well screwed up Michael Beasley. Miami is obviously not the place for him. It wasn't.
Kenny, you look like you disagreed with so what's your perspective?
I like to approach things from a standpoint of like nuance and things of that nature, especially listening to what they say and how they said it. I think Chill might have a point with the whole a coach in your ear could probably ruin your game, things of that nature. But I also hear the other side where this is years later he's speaking on this and he's still speaking on it like that. It comes off as immature. And I think it's a mix of both. I think both things can be true. I think maybe he wasn't a good fit in Miami, but I also think he might have had some maturity issues. Like when I hear him speaking like that, it's just like, because he said, I'm your best option available when he touched the ball. Like that's what he said in that thing. So he believes if I got the ball, and that's probably something that showed up in practice too, where he feels like I deserve to take every shot right here, this, that, and the third.
Not with Dwayne Wade there, you're not the best.
Yeah, option. And that's what he said. That's what he said. He said, I'm the best option you got.
Not in 2009, Mars. Knock it off. Not in 08, 09, Mars. Don't do that.
I'm just hosting, man. I ain't giving takes today. I'm just hosting.
Not doing that, Mars. Not in 2000.
Yeah, this was the same season Dwayne Wade would like nuclear, by the way.
Yeah.
This is the same year Dwayne Wade was. No, but I agree with Kenny said. I think you have anything more to say? I think we kind of interrupted you, Kenny. Sorry.
No, I appreciate Mars' looks and stuff like that. But no, just to end of my point, I think it's a mix of both. I think he might have a point. He might feel slighted. My bad. By Eric Spoelstra. I as a coach, because I coach track and field and cross country, I understand how much your words as a coach impacts athletes. So I can understand where Spoelstra could have made a mistake there, right. But at the same time, I don't know about that.
Well, when my first thing I said on Michael Beasley, I said I wasn't crazy familiar on Michael Beasley's game because he was drafted when I was a child, so I don't remember exactly when he came in the league. But what I can my first impression of Michael Beasley is this guy probably thinks he's I said earlier, this guy probably thinks he's a superstar, and the NBA was trying to push him to a different role. And he probably couldn't accept that. That's why he kind of phased out of the league. And I can't blame him, though, because you were probably – the thing about basketball is these guys are superstars from elementary, middle school, high school, their community they grow up in, college they're the number one. They go to the NBA, and then they're fifth, sixth option on the team. And they got to move the ball. They can't be that number main guy. Beasley's probably one of those. I can't give another example. I'm just blanking, but one of those pure hoopers, if you know what I'm talking about. Those hoopers at the park. Those hoopers
like KD.
Them hoopers in the big three.
But KD understood quickly the flow of the offense. Michael Beasley definitely one of those like give me the ball. I'm gonna get my shot now.
Don't disrespect Michael Beasley though.
Type guys.
So casual. What I want you to imagine, casuals. Imagine KD coming in on that Seattle team and PJ Carlissimo going, KD, move the ball. This isn't Texas. This isn't what you move the ball. Get off the basketball. That could completely, first of all, he's a young guy. He's 19 years old, and he's used to being the man. Not only just used to being the man, that's what y'all picked. That's why y'all got the number
exactly.
one overall pick in the draft.
They drafted him, too. It's
right.
like he drafted. You should know what he was.
Right.
They drafted him.
So you know who he is. So with that being said, you can't turn everybody loose. That's not a question. I won't argue that point. You can't turn everybody loose. But a guy like Michael Beasley, who comes into the league with that kind of fanfare, right? With that kind of game, to Mars's point, in terms of him being one of the best freshmen in the country, he's one of those guys who you have to be able to understand his game and understand him and know how you get him involved in the offense, when to go to him, when to turn him loose, when to step off of him. And remember, too, Mars, Spo was a Dwayne Wade guy. That was his man. So when Michael Beasley shows up, the focus of this offense is going to be Dwayne Wade. It's not a question of who else is there. It's going to be him, no matter how good Michael Beasley is. So when Dwayne Wade is doing what he's doing, Michael Beasley wants to be involved in that. But Spo won't allow him to the way he does. That's where the maturity comes in.
I wanna just for anyone who doesn't know, a couple years ago now, there was an interview with I think Chris Haynes, Kevin Durant, and Michael Beasley. I don't know how many years ago it was, but it was a few years ago. You can watch it on YouTube if you want. I'm giving them free promo, I guess. And Kevin Durant spoke about how going to Seattle benefited him because he had nothing to do, and that if he went to Miami like Michael Beasley did, he doesn't know how he would have ended up, because he knows just how they grew up, having that Miami life available to you at 19. It's different than being in Seattle where all you can really do is hoop. So he spoke about how situations affect players differently. And I think that's the biggest thing with Michael Beasley. I think it was entirely situational. Miami was just a player like Michael Beasley, a person like Michael Beasley. He spoke about how he grew up and all of those things. A player like Michael Beasley, Miami was just the wrong place for so many reasons: basketball reasons, lifestyle reasons, maturity reasons. It wasn't the right spot for him. And I think it's unfortunate how his career unfolded in terms of how much better he could have been in the NBA. But I mean, he still made $40 million playing in the NBA.
A lot of money.
And he's now playing in the Big Three. He's widely considered the best player in the Big Three. And I mean, most people within basketball circles respect him as how good he was. For anyone who doesn't know, he averaged 26 and 12 in college as a freshman. It was a real conversation about who's going to go number one.
The best player in the country, Mars.
Him or Derrick Rose was a real conversation for the number one pick. So Michael Beasley, I mean, he was one of them once.
How old is he today?
36, I think.
35.
Is his NBA career over? Is he done?
He's done in the league. I just think the league, similar to like a John Wall, I just don't think the league is looking for guys like that. It's all about, can you play a role? And then if not, can you be a veteran leader? We want Michael Beasley.
He's not going to be Udonis Haslam. At this point in his career, if you're not a Udonis Haslam, then the league wants to use your roster spot for a young guy. The league would rather have your roster spot be a 19-year-old. That's why a lot of the older veterans of my generation just aren't on a roster anymore, like a DeMarcus Cousins. If you're not going to be like
he also wants to hoop. He doesn't want to play minutes in the NBA. He'd rather be the man in the Big Three, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, he out there winning MVPs. The Big Three has a huge following. I be keeping up with their games. I only watch Three's Company, Michael Beasley's team. That's the only team I watch. But I mean, I keep up with it. The Big Three is very good. Michael Beasley's the best player in that league, so I think he's doing good.
And don't think for 1 second, Mars, that he's not seeing the guys in the NBA and going, I'm better than him today. So for him to go get on a roster and have to sit behind that guy that he thinks he's better than.
No, Michael Beasley would definitely go into practice like ones right now. You, line them up. Let's go.
100%.
Face up right now. You definitely do some of those kids.
As he should. Michael Beasley would beat most of the league.
Michael Beasley would be a great one-on-one player.
He reminds me of Terrell Owens. He's the guy that when he's invited to your camp, your number one wide receiver is in trouble because he's going to come in and you're going to look at him like, oh, shit, we might have to play this dude, yo. We might have to have him on the roster because he's a lot better than what we thought. We thought he was coming in there just to be, just a vet in a presence. No, we might have to play him. And that's kind of throwing a monkey wrench in everything we're doing.
Yeah, Michael Beasley today would probably beat most of the NBA in ones. And that's not saying he's one of the best players in the NBA because ones isn't indicative of 5-on-5. But in one-on-one, not many players want to see Michael Beasley. I'm certain of that.
Certain. He's a hooper.
Yeah,
it's like Melo. Hooper.
Who's the ones who are the people in the NBA right now that could beat Michael Beasley? Like KD?
I think when we talk about ones, I want to clarify. Most NBA players can beat each other in ones, like one-off games. But once you like do series, which is like a lot of what these NBA guys do from like multiple spots, the only guys who I think could
and three dribbles,
Michael Beasley,
three
dribbles, usually a shot clock, 5 spots, probably up to 7. The only players who I think could consistently beat Michael Beasley, KD,
Paul George. I'd put Paul George in there. I'd put Paul George, 6'9" athlete, defense. I'd put George in there.
Michael Beasley, by his own admission, said Bam is the only player who's beaten.
That's what I'm saying, Mars. If we talking straight ones, I think he'll bust Jason Tatum ass. I think he bust Paolo Banchero ass. Let's see. Donovan Mitchell, he'll bust his ass. If we're talking about straight ones, I think those are guys that I'm thinking. Devin Booker, I think he'll bust Devin Booker ass. All of these guys that I'm thinking about, just straight one-on-one players. And I know that the game is not just about one, but we're talking strictly one-on-one. Yeah,
he's not getting with Embiid.
I don't think so. No, I don't. Joker, I'm having a difficult time with Joker too. I don't know if he's better than Joker one-on-one. To be honest with you,
we might. Well, when it comes to ones, we might have to do some like height weight classes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's strictly wings, just wings.
Wings.
I mean, Bam, I think qualifies as wing. He has 6'9". He can go in the wing.
I don't know if anyone's beating KD. That's just 7-footer. The ball's up here. Good luck, bro.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah, I got KD. If we are including bigs, I got Embiid. Bam, by Michael Beasley's own admission, beat him.
Embiid at the elbow is gonna be tough.
Michael Beasley has said he used to kill Giannis when they played on the Bucks together, but that was 2017 Giannis, not modern day Giannis. But he has said he used to kill Giannis. I ain't gonna lie. I got KD, I got Embiid, I got Bam based on his own words. Everyone else, I don't know if they get him with Michael Beasley for real. But shout out to Michael Beasley, Big 3 MVP. But before we get onto the main segment of the day, NP13 said Jokic is lying to everyone with his quiet guy act. Videos on Twitter of him with beer in one hand while dancing on a chair is hilarious.
Okay,
I don't think he's ever acted like he's a quiet guy. I think he just acts like he doesn't like the media.
That's it.
He just doesn't like media.
Right.
Yeah, he having the time of his life in
American
Serbia.
NBA media.
Right.
Everyone's seen videos for the last 4 years of him over in multiple other countries, watching horses, dancing at clubs, beer in his hand. Everyone knows that's Jokic.
Yeah,
It's just over here, it's business, and then I'm out.
Yeah, especially American media. When you see those clips of the one Serbian Nuggets reporter, he lights up. He's like, "Hey, what's up, bro?"
Don't think for 1 second that Joker would not turn up at the barbecue. 100% he would. If Joker was invited, because he's invited to the barbecue. Let's make sure we clear on that. But if he was at the barbecue, Joker
Not
would turn
mine.
up.
What he's done to the Lakers the last 2 years, I ain't giving you a plate, bro.
I'm absolutely.
Oh damn! You know, invite him to the Lakers barbecue.
Him and Jamal Murray are on the short little ban list. Steph Curry's off the ban list. I'm cool with Steph. Him and Jamal Murray, you're on the ban list, bro. Sorry,
man, that's crazy. I mean,
especially what Jamal Murray is doing outside of his series against the Lakers, that it feels like he only plays the Lakers like it's his Super Bowl. He's definitely on the ban list.
Interesting. Drink More Water has a couple super chats, mainly alluding to Chill, but I'm gonna read the first one and then I'll read the one that's directed to Chill. Drink More Water said Giannis has been top 5 in scoring every year since 17-18, but apparently he's not one of the top scorers. Why do people equate scoring with shooting?
I've never said Giannis wasn't one of the top scorers in the league.
I think it's because no one put him in their top 3. I think that's what he's alluding to.
And that's largely due to what the game is today. I mean, the game has always been about shooting, but it's more prevalent today. So, you know, a lot of the guys who are some of the best scorers in the game are shooters.
And it's recency bias too, because Giannis in the playoffs has been on a little hiatus. So we kind of haven't seen that recently. It's a little recency bias when it comes to Giannis.
But do you guys think he's one of the best scorers in the league?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because you're not top 2 doesn't mean you're not one of the best.
So where would you have Giannis? Where would you have Giannis? Where would you have him as a scorer?
Definitely top 5 for sure. Definitely top 5. That dude's 30 a night. You can't be 30 a night on his dominance and not be. I mean, that man is that size, strength, speed, downhill. Not many guys can do that.
He's the best transition player in the game. I won't.
I still give it to LeBron, but Giannis definitely has an argument.
I don't think he's a better scorer than Luka.
What's that reaction, Mars?
LeBron, I'm just hosting the show, man. I'm just hosting the show. I'm just hosting the show, man. I'm just hosting the show.
I still think LeBron might be the best size, strength, speed guy downhill in the league. Just need a bucket, ball top of the key. Downhill, I think LeBron's still the best at it.
I think a guy peeling, just peeling the ball off the glass and going with it. But I don't think he's a better scorer than Luka. I don't think he's a better scorer than Embiid. I think we can have a conversation. I don't think he's a better scorer than KD neither. Then we can talk about Shai. Shai's got that mid-range, and Shai plays within himself. But Giannis is so physically imposing that overlaps that. I think that trumps that. I think he's better. I think he's a better scorer than Jalen Brunson. I think he's a better scorer. Jason Tatum, is he a better scorer than Jason Tatum?
Yes.
Let you answer.
Yes.
I'm thinking to myself, is he a better scorer than Jason Tatum? Yeah, I do. I think he is. I think he's a better scorer than Jason Tatum. I don't know if I can argue him not being a top 5 scorer in the game, not just off the strength that he averages 30 a game. We just had this conversation about him around the rim. There's very few guys in the league, maybe 1 or 2 guys in the league who match him around the rim in transition. I don't think that there's many guys who match him in the league. I think that you can make an argument that he's a top 5 scorer.
I think what I'm going to say is going to be a little controversial. I don't have him up that high, but I understand where my bias is. I'm someone who really appreciates for not variety in scoring. That's not the word I'm looking for, but
versatility.
Yes, versatility. I knew it was another V word. Versatility in scoring as how I rate you as a scorer. I think, especially if you look at the percentages, I don't have them offhand, but if you look at the percentages of where Giannis is effective, it makes me think like he's imposing, and I think he's effective at what he does. But when I rate you as a scorer, your ability to do it in multiple spots and allows for better opportunities if one of those shots aren't falling. So if the team is doing a great job of closing up lanes and meeting you at the rim, and if you can't shoot outside of the restricted area, I can't value you as someone who can. As someone who just even outside of that, like we're not even talking about just someone who gets to the rim or just someone who's a close range shooter. I feel like if your ability to score outside of a certain area, well, it makes me have you in a higher regard as a scorer.
I can get behind that argument for sure. That's why I wouldn't have Giannis number one. I can definitely get behind that argument if that's your way of looking at it, and I think it's a good way of looking at it as far as like the walling up. If I can take away you from the restricted area,
sure,
and you score from anywhere else,
right?
How much scoring? How effective are you truly as a scorer? If I take that away from you, I can get behind that. But to me, at some point, it's like I'm so damn good at getting at the rim.
That's where I was going with it.
That like I don't care if I get a 3-pointer.
That's what I was going with.
That would definitely be an argument for me to take him out of like the number one, the number two conversation. But when I start getting to like 3, 4, 5, it's like at the end of the day, he's so good at getting to the rim, 30 to 35 points at this level of efficiency, size, speed, strength. You got to have a certain defense out there to stop me. Only feels like Miami and a couple other teams could really do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I can admit where my bias lies with that, because when you guys were naming off people, where Chill was naming off people, I was saying yes, he's better. This person's better than Giannis, and you guys are saying no, absolutely not. And I'm like, well, because like if I off the top of my head, I do think Jalen Brunson's a better scorer. I think Jason Tatum's a better scorer. I think that Devin Booker's a better scorer. I think that KD's a better scorer. Donovan Mitchell's a better scorer. I really LeBron James is a better scorer.
It seems like it's a lot of
today.
Like,
in 2024, James is a better scorer than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
For what I value in a scorer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I can his argument. I can understand his argument. I understand.
Right, but what I can counter with that is I'm just so good at what I do.
Exactly.
A prime example would be,
Shaq.
You can have a bunch of different weapons on the table. I got this one weapon, and I could drop all of you with it. Jabbar had one move. Stop this, and you stop me.
Yeah.
He scored almost 40,000 points.
Exactly.
Shaq is good as now. Shaq was a little bit different in the aspect that Shaq relied on guys getting him the basketball, just like Jabbar did. Shaq relied on guys getting him the basketball underneath the basket because he was so physically imposing. Jabbar, on the other hand, he had that sky hook, and I'm actually watching Jabbar, who could knock down a mid-range shot. Jabbar could do that. I know that sounds ridiculous because you only saw the jump hook, but for the majority of his career, he could knock down a mid-range shot. You only saw the sky hook. A guy like Giannis, I'm so as good as versatile as Jalen Brunson is. You do things in a variety of ways. My transition game is better than anything you do. Me around the rim is better than anything that you do. No matter what it is, me as a transition player alone is better than all of that.
And Chill, and it's a more reliable shot and more productive. Because if some of those guys have an off shooting night, then it's like, but Giannis can get to the rim easier than those guys can make a jump shot.
You can't stop it. You can't.
Exactly.
I can slow you down. Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum with the sidestep long ball. I can keep you at that spot. I can slow you down with it. When I get ahead of steam, and we're going into year 11, guys have been trying to figure out how to slow Giannis down. We're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he's still doing the same thing. It's not like, he's added, something drastically different to his game. I'm still grabbing the ball off the rim, and I'm putting my head down, and in 2 dribbles, I'm getting from half court to the rim. You step in front of him, you're going to get trucked. Most of the time, these guys don't want to do that. He gets around the rim, he's going to score. So,
yeah, no, and I get that. That's what I said. I know it's just my personal.
It all depends how you look at it, because there's no true definition to who's the best scorer. It's all subjective, like how you view. If you value,
it's Michael Beasley.
If you value scoring versatility so much, and like bag or amount of shot creation that you can get, if that's like your criteria, then that's just your criteria.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I can definitely get behind it because I factor that in too. But I also factor in production. And if I'm so damn good at this one thing and you can't stop me, I might have to go with this guy.
Right.
Because this guy's going to give me 30 to 35 no matter what. Whereas this guy could give me 27 to 30. It can give me it in different ways. But the shot's a little harder because he's shooting from 30 feet, whereas 2 feet, it's a little different. But
as I said, like versatility, like because even with Giannis' transition game, it's even when I watch him play, he's a great athlete, but you could tell that his footwork and his like body control isn't the greatest. And for me, I think that's something that really gets to me when I watch him play is that he kind of fumbles around a little bit with his feet, like and
this basketball player for sure.
Yeah.
But he always in his career has gotten away with it, just being so much. Again, the combination of size, speed, and strength, just being so much better than anybody. It's like Embiid. I don't think Embiid's the smoothest basketball player in the world. Hell, half the time he's foul baiting. I don't think he's the smoothest guy in the world.
He is, Mars.
I'm just hosting the show. I'm just hosting the show.
I'm just foul baiting and trying to bump guys.
I'm just hosting
foul baiting. It's not
smooth,
but he's so much. He's 7 foot. He's like 300 pounds. I'm bigger than you. I might not be as smooth, but I'm still getting to my spot. I don't have to be the smoothest guy.
I'm not saying Kenny is right. Once again, I'm just hosting the show, but I'm gonna bring up this graphic. I want to ask if it has changed your perspective on this situation at all. This is Giannis' shot chart for the season. For anyone who is struggling to see it or isn't reading it, in the restricted area, Giannis this year was 661 for 853. That's 77.5%. Yes. That is over 10% above the league average. That's 66%.
It's really good.
Now in the paint, but outside the restricted area, he was 81 for 217. That is 37%. That is 7% below the league average. On corner threes, he only shot 3, but he missed all 3 of them. I'm not going to say he was 38% below league average, but technically he was. From mid-range, he was 61 of 175. That's 34.9%.
35.
That is 6% below the league average, or 7%. 7% below the league average. And then from 3 above the break, he was 34 for 120. That is 28.3%, which is 7.7% below the league average. Right. Does this change your perspective on Giannis as a scorer at all?
And I'm still giving you 30 a game on 61% from the field. So
80% of my buckets are at the rim, if I'm not mistaken. 80% of my shots. The other almost 20 come from in the mid post and in the mid range. Now I'm not nearly as effective in those areas as I am closer to the basket, but I mean that just goes to numbers. If I'm closer to the basket, I'm probably going to score more than I would if I wasn't closer to the basket.
62.3% of his shots are directly at the rim. 15.9% are in the paint, but not at the rim. Right. 12.8 are mid-range jumpers. 8.8 are above the break threes. And he also took 1 heave this year, which he missed. So he's below league average by 1.8% on heaves. So if you're interested,
right,
those heaves are inefficient too. But I think that just goes to Kenny's point about the versatility. If you value versatility, I think Giannis is probably lower for you. If you don't really care about versatility too much, and it's like, yeah, he's the best rim finisher in the league. So cool.
Which I do. Which I do, Mars. I do care about versatility. I won't argue that. I 100% care about how you're getting it done. But when a guy is just so much better at getting it done, like in this or this specific way, it's hard to argue that, man. Especially when you can't stop him. It ain't like he's DeAndre Ayton or some nonsense like that.
For reference, this is Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant was 167 for 215 at the rim, so 600 less shots than Giannis at the rim, but he was also 77%, so 11% above the league. In the paint, he was 51%, which is 6% above the league. From mid-range, he was 51%, which is 10% above the league on 490 attempts, which is leading the league. Yep. From corner threes combined, he shot 32 of 68. So I believe that's around 40-something%.
Right.
And then above the break threes, he was 136 for 339, which is 40%, which is above the league average by 4%. So that's the difference between Kevin Durant and Giannis' shot profile this year. Giannis obviously averaged more points per game, but Kevin Durant has the clear versatility advantage. I think that's like the biggest example.
Oh, for sure. I think he's got that versatility advantage over like all but like maybe no one in NBA history. I mean,
yeah, that's
really good.
That's why I agree with like what Casual was saying. Like that's why I can't have Giannis number one. Like if KD is scoring like that, there's no way I can have Giannis.
Also, the thing with shot chart is it doesn't tell you how you get your shot because a wide open layup and a physical drive to a layup looks like the same thing on the shot chart.
It's the same shot, but
it's
how
the
you
same
got
shot. They're both layups, but KD could have a wide open backdoor cut for a dunk, and that be considered a shot in the restricted area, whereas Giannis could take on a double team and elbow you out the way and get a layup, and it'll be considered the same shot. That's why film also has to get involved. But dude, Kevin Durant's shot chart is oh my gosh.
I mean,
he might be versatility.
I'm sure I said that he was better.
By the way, they added that to Golden State.
Remember how I said
Golden State's offense?
Remember how I said Steph Curry was the only person to lead the league in volume and efficiency in a scoring season?
Yeah, in 2016 you said that.
Kevin Durant was second in both categories that same year. So they teamed up. Just do that information.
This is what I'm talking about, Mars. This is when I asked you when the idea of Steph Curry as a scorer was Kevin Durant not in that conversation, or was it just hands down Steph? I'd like to think in 2016, KD was 100% in that conversation as the best scorer in the game, considering what Curry was doing.
He was definitely the more talented scorer.
Yeah,
he might be the most talented scorer ever, other than Michael.
He is definitely the most more talented than Steph as far as what kind of shot he can get. But
last little topic of scoring, and then we're going to move on to the main part of the show. I was hoping Swiper would be back, but I guess he's ducking the fade today, so we're going to get into it with us four. Drink more water, and this is the question for Chill. He said, can you explain why you think Luka scores the easiest? I would like to think that players that shoot higher percentage shots will score more easy than players that take lower percentage shots.
Players who one more time, can I see that one more time? I would like to think that players who take higher percentage shots will score. Right, that is true. But when I didn't know about Luka shooting that low at the rim and that many times at 12%. It just seemed like Luka gets to the basket a lot more. When I watch him, he just seems to get to the basket a lot more, and he seems to finish a lot more around the basket. I feel like that was the separator for me, where he's able to speed guys up when he slows down. He's able to get guys not only to foul him, but he's also able to get in ones, stuff like that. I feel like make Luka better. Now, when you're talking about playing on the block, he's able to exploit mismatches. His stop and pop game. I think this, but I feel like the separator is him getting to the rim. I felt like the separator was him getting to the rim and him being able to finish.
Definitely,
where guys are playing faster and he's playing slower.
It definitely depends what type of Luka you were looking at. I was kind of alluding into when we were talking about Luka earlier, because there's this Luka where it's kind of like Harden, where I'm not the fastest guy. I might not have like this Kyrie handle, but I'm gonna catch you sleeping and I'm gonna walk to the basket.
Yeah,
that's the Luka that scores easy. But there's a Luka that some people like to see where it drags down his efficiency and looks like Luka, it's hard for him to score. It's because part of it is out of shape. But sometimes when he goes to the rim, and it will bring down his field goal percentage because he goes to the rim trying to foul bait, and he'll put up a bad layup strictly because he's trying to foul bait, or he's like forcing up a step back three when he doesn't need to. But when you get Luka in that mode, maybe no one scores easier other than Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Luka Doncic shot chart for anyone who's interested. I want to ask before I read out the numbers, does this look how you expected it to look? The Luka Doncic.
The mid post, yes. The mid post look about that. At the rim, 100%, yes. The long ball line, I thought it was a little less than that.
Okay.
He's not as bad of a 3-point shooter as people make him out to be. He's getting better.
Yeah.
It's just when he gets in that shot chucking mode where it gets bad. Where it's like, why are you shooting a step back?
39% when the vast majority of his shots are unassisted and self-created. That's
really good.
Pretty elite. Yeah, that's pretty elite. But for any audio listeners, Luka Doncic this year was 76% in the restricted area. He was 55% in the paint outside the restricted area. He was 44% on all mid-range jump shots or mid-range shots. He was a combined 7 for 27 on corner threes. So that's unfortunate. And then he was 38.9% on above the break threes.
What's the hardest shot in the game? In today's game, what is considered the most difficult shot?
Definitely long two might be tough.
I'm thinking about corner threes.
I think pull-up threes are the most difficult shot.
So definitely.
I've always struggled with corner threes, but that's just because I have depth perception.
That's what I'm saying. So the corner three. So for Luka to shoot the corner three at 25%, I mean, I know in terms of league average, it's not that good, but it is one of the most difficult shots in the game.
I just think he doesn't get that many. So
it's the shortest three.
The variance is different.
But you don't really have as much backboard help. Maybe that's why it's harder. I mean, technically the hardest shot's probably like the half court, full court shot. But as far as like in the half court, it's just like a catch and shoot situation because then you start adding like step backs and all that in there. That would make it.
And Mars, and that's when you had up that graphic where I think he was shooting in the mid post, he was shooting 54%. That's where I see him. Like he gets smaller guys, or not only smaller guys, but he gets guys when he comes off that pick and roll. He puts guys in jail. He gets guys on his hip, and he's able to get to that specific spot right around that mid post area. And he's almost impossible when he gets there. We saw him in the Minnesota series when they played drop, and he's got Jaden McDaniels on his hip, or he's got Alexander Walker on his hip. You got no shot against him in that area. And I just feel like I see him getting to the basket more. It just seemed like he was getting to the basket more and finishing more. That's why I said he scored it the easiest of anybody.
He definitely gets in the paint. He just doesn't get all the way to the rim.
It's like what shots are Luka taking too? Because that's why I think what makes Luka's shot chart so impressive. Because half those threes are probably those side steps, step back, dribble pull-ups.
But I think the side step and like the dribble pull-up threes, I think that might be more comfortable. And I don't think he's just doing that simply because he wants to do that. I think it's more comfortable for him from just thinking from a kinesthetic approach to it. I think he may get better balance and spring from his legs. He's not an athletic dude, but being able to push off and load your legs like that, I think helps with his shot.
Well,
can you define kinesthetic for people who don't know what kinesthetic means?
Okay, so in simple terms, it's where how your body feels doing it, or the act of making your body do something. So if I'm talking about like when a kinesthetic feel to it is the transition from pushing off of one leg, loading the plant leg, and then bringing the other leg, getting your balance. It causes you to load your quads and your glutes and things of that nature so that you can explode up. And doing that from a standstill, especially for someone who's not athletic and doesn't have those quick twitch muscle fibers to do that, might feel harder than if you have something that engages it. Kind of like when people, when they want to jump high, they want to run into it or do like at least a step and jump versus just a stand and jump. Because stand and jump's a lot harder to fire those quick twitch muscle fibers a lot more. Versus if you're doing even a quick 1-2 jump, you get to load your legs a lot more.
It's because it's like the James Harden situation too. James Harden found himself in a similar situation. He's not a catch and shoot player. I don't think he ever really practiced to be a catch and shoot player because he is a self-creator. So he practices. If I'm going to shoot this above the break three, it's probably going to have to be a shot creation three where I got to do a little dribble and a step back to get it. So that's probably the energy transfer. He's more comfortable loading up the shot off of a base where he's doing a step back, kind of like Harden, because that's all they practice, because that's how they're going to get their threes in game.
Mm. Like, look at Ray Allen. Like, Ray Allen, in his prime was an athletic dude. Definitely more so than Luka Doncic, but he is a great catch and shoot because he has that explosive muscle and that explosive muscle memory from just being an athlete. So when he transitioned to being more of a shooter, that's why he was able to rise up so quickly because he's an athlete.
Those calf muscles are crazy. Shout out to Ray Allen. But moving on to the main topic of the show, Pimp Named Slipback said the greatest international player is Tim Duncan. Now, he's not going to qualify for the little list of things we're going to do. But what I wanted to do today was a little similar to what we did when we went through the categories the other day between Magic and Steph.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do that, but for international players, period.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a list of names. If you guys feel there should be other additions, let me know. I've got Tony Parker. It's going to be difficult because there's guards, there's wings, there's bigs. So we're going to have to try and decipher who's the best at certain categories, even though there's guards and bigs here. But I've got Tony Parker, Joel Embiid, Manu Ginobili, Giannis, Steve Nash, Hakeem, Dirk Nowitzki, Luka, and Pau Gasol. Is there any international players you feel are missing from that group of players?
Steve Nash is American.
When you say who's the greatest, or when you say who's the best international player ever, I wonder what the criteria is. How much does NBA have an influence, and how much does the outside have an influence?
What this was just, I'm going through categories as strictly basketball players and who you think is the best at those. So if you're only looking at them in the NBA, that's fine. If you're only looking at them in FIBA, that's fine. But just like, for example, 3-point shooting. Who's the best 3-point shooter of those names I just said? You're going to pick who you think. And then we're going to see who comes out on top. That I think I've explained it well. Ideally,
who has the most names?
Ideally, we could put them in order. Like if I say, for example, 3-point shooting, of all of those names, do you want to put Dirk 1, Nash 2, Giannis 3, for example? Like put them in order, and then we'll just see who comes out highest in the most categories. People are saying Pat Ewing. You guys want Pat Ewing? I can put Pat Ewing in.
Pat Ewing is Jamaican.
I think that makes sense. We can go with Ewing. So
I thought he was Bahamian.
No, he's from Jamaica.
You thinking about DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, that's a round 10. That's a perfect 10. I think that's a perfect 10 players. So it's gonna be hard for you guys to remember the names. I'm gonna do my best to just keep reminding you. But the first category, and I'm starting with chill, is just finishing. Who's the best finishing at the rim of the players? Tony Parker, Joel Embiid, Manu Ginobili, Giannis, Steve Nash, Hakeem, Dirk, Luka, Pau Gasol, and Patrick Ewing. Who's the best finishing of those players? Hakeem, okay. Casual, who's the best finisher of those players I named? If you want me to reread it, just let me know.
Between Olajuwon and Giannis.
The first name I heard was Giannis, so I'm just gonna go with Giannis.
Yeah, it was between Olajuwon and Giannis. I'll take Olajuwon over Giannis.
Kenny, who's the best finisher in your opinion?
Okay, so just want to make sure I was trying to type out the names. Hakeem, Parker, Dirk, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, Manu, Pau, Ewing, and who? You said we had
Steve
10.
Nash. I said Steve Nash. Yeah.
The American.
The South African Canadian.
No love from Mutombo.
Unfortunately, he did not make the cut.
No, he didn't.
I'm gonna stay consistent with how I view scoring. I'm gonna pick Hakeem.
Hakeem, okay.
Hold on for a second. Pirate, on this list of guys, who does Detlef Shrimp go ahead of? Of all the guys on this
should
list.
be in the list.
Yeah, of all these guys on this list, Pirate, and I'm a big-time Detlef Shrimp fan. I love Detlef Shrimp. Who does he go ahead of on this list? Because he doesn't go ahead of Gasol. He doesn't go ahead of Giannis. He doesn't go ahead of Ewing. Who does he go ahead of on this list?
You don't go ahead of Manu.
Yeah, who does he go ahead of?
Everyone. He said everyone. He said everyone.
No, man. No, we're not doing that. No,
I'm surprised you don't got the bonus on this. Come on, Mars.
Yeah, I was thinking just to.
If you just want to mention him, sure. I can get what you mentioned in Detlef Shrimp. Detlef Shrimp was a phenomenal player. 100%.
They're saying Tony Parker. That's who they're saying.
The same Tony Parker who had a stretch where he was top 5 in the league in points in the paint.
Definitely better than Detlef.
At 6'1", I think. What's he?
Yeah, I was gonna say he ain't even get a mention in the finishing.
He was in the top 3 in the league. He was in the top 3 in the league for like a couple of years. He led the league in points in the paint as a 6'2" guard in a big man league. But he goes ahead. But Detlef Shrimp goes ahead of him at 6'10". I don't think so. No, sir.
Well, none of you guys picked him for finishing, so that's unfortunate. But Duke did it. Yeah, Duke did it. Said Penn says Arvydas Sabonis is the best international player ever. I mean, I wanted to give Arvydas some love, but
I'm good.
Tyrone Winston, shout out to you for becoming a member.
Word.
The next category, we're not gonna go 1 through 10 in each category unless we have time at the end. The next category is mid-range shooting. Who is the best mid-range shooter of all the players I mentioned? If you want me to reread them, just let me know.
I'm good. I'll take Dirk on this one.
Taking Dirk? Okay.
I'll take Dirk on this one.
Casual?
Yeah, I'll take Dirk.
Kenny?
The man with the black queen as a wife.
The German Jesus.
Dirk Nowitzki. Okay.
I'll take Dirk on this.
The next category is 3-point shooting. Who is the best 3-point shooter of all the names I mentioned?
Is Steve Nash on this list?
Steve Nash is on this list.
I'll take Nash.
Because I'll take
Steve
Nash. If you want,
that's 2 for Nash.
With Dirk, like we had a photo finish with Dirk and Nash.
It's wow. You can go either way.
I got Steve.
Steve Nash. Okay. White guys win in the shooting category.
Interesting.
White guys win in the shooting category. Very interesting. Okay. Post scoring is the next category. Who is the best post scorer? Okay. I feel like this might be unanimous, but I got to ask. Chill.
Olajuwon.
Okay. Interesting.
The dream shake.
Casual.
The dream
Kenny?
shake.
Hakeem.
Okay. So far, we're getting pretty unanimous decisions. Apart from the first round, that was a bit.
We're building the ultimate international player.
Yes.
The next category: passing / playmaking. Who's the best passer / playmaker of all the names I mentioned?
Josh Giddey.
Passer, Slayme. Nash. On that list, Nash. I think Nash was better than Tony Parker as a passer. In the
Nash or Yoke?
Jokic is also.
Joker is on that. Joker is on that list.
Yes, Jokic is also.
I'll take Joker over Nash.
I'm going Joker too.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, Mars. I forgot Joker was on that list. Even though Steve Nash.
I think that's on me. I think I forgot to read Jokic's name.
I forgot Joker was on that list. That's my fault. I mean, and it's a photo finish because Nash was a fantastic passer. Holy shit.
Okay, so
I'll take Joker.
I'm gonna do the Mars role and be a contrarian. I'm gonna pick Nash.
Okay. Everyone knows how I feel about Nash. So I'm not going. I don't think that's a contrarian pick. Personally, I don't think that's a contrarian pick. So we've got. Let me just make sure I got everyone's picks right. I think I've got everyone's picks right. Okay. The next category is who is the most versatile offensive player of all of the names I mentioned? The most versatile offensive. If you want me to reread the names, just let me know.
I'm good. I'm good. This is going to take a second because I mean both Olajuwon and Tim Duncan were pretty versatile on both sides of the basketball. They can guard multiple positions.
Offensive player or defense?
Duncan is not here.
Oh, Duncan wasn't on the list.
Just offense. Just
offense or defense?
Just offense. The most versatile offensive player.
Versatile offensive player. Yeah, Olajuwon wasn't the ball handler and the distributor that Joker was. That wasn't his game. The most versatile.
You can put me down. You can put me down for Jokic. I mean for Luka. For Luka.
Okay.
Luka's on this list?
Luka is on this list, yes.
Wait, then 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think there may be 11 names. I think there may be 11 names.
The most versatile.
Our host can't count.
Damn, Mars. This is a tough one, to be honest with you.
I might change my answer on some of these.
The chat has decided Giannis is a better finisher than Hakeem.
If I think that Joker is a better playmaker and passer than Steve Nash, then I also have to think he's more versatile too. Because if he plays on the perimeter and he handles the basketball, then I have to keep with that logic. It's Joker.
You going with Jokic? Okay.
Yeah.
Kenny?
Yeah, I like being consistent. I think I go with Jokic. I was going Jokic or Embiid, but I think the playmaking makes a difference with that one. So I'm gonna go with Jokic.
We got Jokic. I want the chat to have their own section. So the chat picked Giannis for finishing. If Claire can run a poll from, I think chat is gonna pick Dirk for mid-range shooting. I'm not even gonna waste my time. If Claire can run a poll for the best 3-point shooter between Nash and Dirk, I'd appreciate that just so I can see who the chat will go for 3-point shooting. And then I'm gonna get the answers for the rest of the things. She ran most versatile offense. You guys pick that one first, and then we'll go through 3-point shooting. But for you guys up here, the next category is who is the best rebounder of all these
glass
players?
Cleaner.
Oh, God,
just rebounding.
Get the Windex.
Glass cleaner. Oh, I think that's Olajuwon.
Okay, you got Hakeem.
I'll take Olajuwon.
Casual.
I was gonna troll and say Rudy Gobert, but I'm not. You say Olajuwon, man. I want to be different. Say Jokic.
Jokic.
I want to be different and say that man is the most overpowered rebounder I've ever seen, bro.
He is a good rebounder.
Casual. When I think about rebounding, this is what I'm talking about. Like it's not just standing there and being a big guy and getting rebounded.
No, I mean that man makes Anthony. I've seen this man go behind
Yes.
Anthony Davis back and grab the own rebound from
Yes.
Anthony Davis, who's like a 10 to 20 rebound guy. He makes Anthony Davis look small.
Right.
He's the most overpowered rebound. At least I'm a little biased to my era. I was not born to see Hakeem. Sorry, I'm a little biased to Yoke just because that's my era. Sorry, but
Olajuwon in traffic. Olajuwon in the playoffs. I mean, he led the playoffs in rebounds. I think three times. Three times he led the playoffs in rebounds. He's a double-digit rebounder in the finals. He's a great rebounder in traffic. He was one of the best offensive rebounding big men, especially in a big man era. Yeah, I got to go Olajuwon.
no, that's totally fair. I'm
Kenny.
just biased to my era.
Luka, he averages a triple-double. I'm kidding.
Luka.
Hakeem.
I was gonna put in Luka. Okay, so we've got everyone's rebounder. The chat is currently voting on best 3-point shooter. We'll see who they go with. While they do that, who is the best? I feel like this might be another clean sweep, but let's see. Who is the best interior defender?
Olajuwon. There wasn't a rim protector of all of these guys. No rim protector. And we just got finished talking about rebounding. Rebounding is the last line of defense where he held guys to one shot. Yes, I think it's Olajuwon.
Casual.
Doesn't this guy get 4 Defensive Player of the Years? Rudy Gobert? Nah, I'm just trying. Hakeem Olajuwon.
Troll alert.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay. And Kenny, are you making it a clean sweep?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And Hakeem seems to be winning a lot of these categories.
I mean,
but I don't know if he'll win this one. The next category is perimeter defense. Who is the best perimeter defender of all of these names? I'm not going.
It's got to be.
I mean, yeah, the names on this list: Tony Parker, Joel Embiid, Manu Ginobili, Giannis, Steve Nash, Hakeem, Dirk, Luka, Pau Gasol, Pat Ewing. You might still go with
Giannis, bro. Like low key.
So
Giannis looks like he's the only wing kind of on this list.
What's the quote? One more time. The question was
perimeter defender.
Perimeter defender.
Yes.
It's not Tony Parker. Nope. Sorry, Maz. It wasn't Tony Parker. It's definitely not Steve Nash.
Definitely not Luka.
No, it's not. No, it's not Luka. I think Giannis was a damn good perimeter defender, but I'm going to take Manu. I'm going to take Ginobili as a perimeter defender. Yes.
Casual.
You know, I'm just going to go Giannis. That athlete on the perimeter, he's not the greatest, but I'm going to go Giannis.
And Kenny.
Torn between Nash and Luka. So
Tough
I'm going to
decision.
go Manu. I'm going to go Manu as well. Manu
Ginobili. Okay.
That block on James Harden.
Game 3 Luka defense in the NBA
I
Finals.
believe the chat is going with Steve Nash for 3-point shooting. I'm also gonna be honest. I've seen the chat answer the poll of post scoring before, and they went with Hakeem over Jokic, so I don't need to run that one. Claire, if we could get a poll for passing / playmaking between Nash and Jokic, that'd be great. Thank you very much. And while Claire does that, the next category for you guys is the most versatile defender. Who's the most versatile defender? Sure.
It's between Olajuwon and Giannis, and I think it's Olajuwon. I think he's the best defensive player in NBA history. Him on the block, him being able to defend in the mid post, him being able to defend in transition, slowing down point guards, running point guards out of the lane, running point guards off the long ball line. He was doing that in transition. And again, being able to rebound, being able to switch. I think it's Olajuwon.
Casual.
I'm gonna go Giannis again. More biased towards my era, but his athlete on the perimeter, a little bit smaller, long. I think he can guard, especially in a more outside era than Hakeem. A little more versatile defender than Hakeem Olajuwon.
Kenny?
Yeah, I'm agree with casual. I'm gonna go Giannis. It's close between him and Olajuwon, but like as an overall versatile defender, the roamer that Giannis is, the way he can play on the perimeter, I think Hakeem's a better rim protector than Giannis, but I do think Giannis is a more,
versatile defender.
Yeah, I keep losing the word.
Who is the best overall offensive player? Just offense as a whole. Who's the best offensive player? Sure.
Luka or Jokic?
Or Patrick Ewing.
Or Bojan Bogdanovic?
I'll take Joker.
I'll take Joker as well.
Yeah, I'll take Joker.
Okay, we got 2 for Jokic.
Jokic.
3 for Jokic. Okay.
The separation.
And then this one I found,
man, holy shit, that ability to pass, man.
He is a solid little passer. Yeah, he is.
For me, the separation is Jokic's shot selection over, or not Luka. Yeah, Jokic's shot selection over Luka. I could see Jokic, because like as a playmaker, Jokic I also think is better, but the big separator for me is Jokic's shot selection. I can rely on him as a scorer, in my opinion. I feel more comfortable relying on Jokic as a scorer than I do Luka, especially if the shot isn't falling. Luka, if the shot isn't falling, especially if he's not getting the foul calls, then he's just going to start moping around and stuff like that. I feel way more comfortable having Jokic as my overall offensive engine than Luka.
And this goes back to what we just got finished talking about when we talked about Giannis, him being so much better at this one or two things as all the other things. I mean, when I think about how much better Olajuwon is on the box than Joker is, he's better on the block than both Joker and Luka, how much better he is in the mid-post. But that damn Joker's ability to pass and find guys, is that better than what Olajuwon does on the box? I do think it's better. I think it's better, Mars.
Yeah, I think it's the law.
Better, and I'm an Olajuwon guy, but I do.
I think it's the law of averages. When if you take all these 10, you rank them 1 through 10 in each of these categories, especially when it comes to the offensive end. Jokic is probably top 3, top 5 for almost every single one of these categories. You just take the average, and Jokic is going to be the one that comes on top. Even though Hakeem is 1, Jokic might be 4 or 5, maybe 3. But then on other category like passing and playmaking, Jokic is 1, and then Hakeem is like 7. You know what I mean?
Next category is overall defense. I feel like this might be a clean sweep, but I gotta ask anyway. Chill.
Olajuwon.
Casual.
Olajuwon.
Kenny.
Hakeem.
There we go. Okay. And then the final one, the best overall player. Who is the best overall player? Chill.
Olajuwon.
Casual.
The best overall player?
Yes.
I guess I gotta do the two-way thing. I want to. Akeem's.
I know. Now, what's your argument for Joker? What is your argument for Joker?
He's just so dominant offensively.
Yeah, I could get with that.
He is smart defensively.
Sure,
Jokic. He's not a bad defender, as he's smart defensively. Right. He's just not athletic enough to impact the game nearly like Hakeem. I'll give Hakeem because if we're doing overall, I'll give Hakeem. But oh my,
what I'm asking you is when we like we just got finished talking about that one thing that you're just so much better than me at, right? That's basically where the divide comes in. But
I'll give you Hakeem. I'll give you Hakeem.
But this is what I'm saying. I don't want you to just say Hakeem. What I'm thinking is because I'm giving you something to think about here. When you have a guy who is so much better at this one thing than another guy, that may be the separator. But when you have a guy who I might not be as good as you at this thing, but on both sides of the basketball, I'm better than you. And then on the offensive side of the basketball, you don't clear me. Like there are things that you do better than me on the offensive side of the basketball, but you don't clear me in everything. Like I clear you in defense. I'm clearly a better rim protector. I'm clearly a better paint presence. I'm a better rebounder. I'm all of those things. And on offense, I mean, we can have a discussion about my ability on the box. I think I'm better than you. I think you're better than me as a passer. I won't argue that. I definitely think you're better than me as a passer. But then we talk about stuff like like you said, basketball IQ, dive into the basket, understanding the game, scoring around the basket, finishing, stuff like that. I don't think you clear me there. So when the divide isn't like this, when you're talking about that, I mean, I have to go with the other guy, and I think it's.
I see your point. The defense gap's bigger than the offense gap. I'll take.
So you got Hakeem. Kenny, who do you have?
Manu Ginobili is one of my favorite players of all time, but Hakeem is the greatest international player of all time.
And he played for Team USA.
I wish you would have been Mars. I really wish you would have been around in 1995 to watch him in that playoffs, man. He was phenomenal. There was no reason why those dudes should have been in the NBA championship. The road that they had to take, and not only the road that they had to take, there was a huge uproar at that time about the NBA playoffs dropping to 5 games instead of 7. So now I got less games, and I have very little bit. I have a little bit of time, and my margin of error is almost this, right? So to play against that Utah team, I think Utah won 60 games that year, and they was in 3rd. I think they won 60 games in 95, something like that. And not just them, to play against Barkley, who had them literally had them in the UFC John Bones chokehold, and they let them up. They were supposed to choke them dudes out. And for him to dominate David Robinson, who won the league MVP. Can you imagine watching Joker get his lunch eaten by Embiid in the Western Conference Finals? Because that's basically what Olajuwon did to David Robinson. He straight ate his lunch. And then to see a young Shaq, who, by the way, everybody was talking about Shaq at that time as the best big man in the league, the most dominant big man in the league. And Olajuwon went off on them. They couldn't do anything. I really wish you would have been around to see that, Mars. It was incredible what he did.
You wishing I was old is crazy. But I mean, shout out to King. For anyone who doesn't know, the Rockets that year, they, like Chill alluded to, they beat the Jazz. So Stockton and number 32. They then came back from 3-1 against the Suns, which seems to be forgotten in history. I don't know why, but they came back from
for the second year in a row, by the way, Mars. That's the second time they did it in a row.
And then Charles Barkley went and joined the Rockets, by the way. So do with that information what you will. And then they beat I believe David Robinson was the MVP that year. They beat MVP, I believe, number 1 seed.
They were the one.
San Antonio Spurs in the conference finals. I mean, that's great.
And Dennis Rodman led the league in rebounding that year too, Mars. He averaged like 19 rebounds a game. And they smoked them dudes.
Yeah, Dennis Rodman gone empty rebounds, man. How many were contested? But and then in the finals, they went and beat the Orlando Magic, who had just beat the Bulls, who did have Michael Jordan, contrary to popular belief. And they swept them too. So yeah, one of the all-time great postseason runs for any team, and one of the great all-time postseason runs for any player. Hakeem Olajuwon is pretty good, and that's why he got a clean sweep of our little list here. I want to show you guys what you came up with. I'm still trying to get all of the chat's answers. So far, I've got all the way down to playmaking. I need to get versatility, rebounds in all of the defensive categories, and then overall players. But we'll get that some other time. So let me just make sure I can show you guys what you guys came up with. This is what you guys have. For finishing, it was chill with Hakeem, casual with Giannis, Kenny with Hakeem. The chat went with Giannis. Mid-range shooting was a clean sweep of Dirk. 3-point shooting was a clean sweep of Nash. Post scoring was a clean sweep of Hakeem. Passing and playmaking was 3 votes for Jokic and 1 for Nash. Kenny picking Nash. Versatility offensively was 2 for Jokic, 1 for Luka, with casual going with Luka. Rebounding was 2 for Hakeem and 1 for Jokic, with casual going with Jokic. Interior defense was a clean sweep for Hakeem. Perimeter defense was Manu Ginobili, 2 votes with 1 vote for Giannis coming from casual. Defensive versatility was 2 votes for Giannis, with chill being the 1 vote for Hakeem. The overall offense was a clean sweep for Jokic. The overall defense was a clean sweep for Hakeem. And the overall player was a clean sweep for Hakeem. So we seem to believe that Hakeem Olajuwon, who played for Team USA, is the best international player of all time. Shout out to Hakeem Olajuwon for winning the panel's opinion of international basketball players. I wanted to like get everyone's opinions of like the top 3 in each category, but I want to get through these super chats first, and if we have time, I think we can spin back to it.
Sure.
I think that makes the most sense. I've been saving these super chats for Ox, and he just disappeared on me. So I'm gonna try keep saving him and hope he shows up. But if he doesn't show up in time, I will read the couple super chats addressed to Ox. But Antoine, I don't want to read your super chat because it says W hoster on, but I'm gonna read it anyway. He said rank Amen Thompson, Derek Lively, Bilal Koulibaly, Asar Thompson, Anthony Black, Taylor Hendricks, Kayson Wallace, and Brandon Podziemski as defenders. Also, can 2023 be one of the best defensive draft classes of all time? Let's answer the first part first. Do you think it can be one of the best defensive draft classes of all time?
Well, from what you tell me about Amen Thompson, Mars, I mean that he's a better defender as a rookie than Scottie Pippen was as a rookie. Does that mean he's going to turn into Scottie Pippen? I don't know. So I got to start paying more attention to him. Could it be? I mean, could 2024 be one of the best draft classes? Yeah, it could be. We don't know. We don't know what these dudes going to turn into. I don't know what Kayson Wallace is going to turn into as a defender. I mean, what are we ranking these guys? How are we ranking these guys? They're rotation guys. Kayson Wallace is a rotation guy. Is he going to be an all-league defender one day? I don't know. In the limited amount of minutes that he plays, I think he's a damn good defender. Bilal, I mean, you're on a bad team, so you should be a better defender than what you are. But what are they teaching you? So could it be? Maybe.
Was Wemby even on that list?
No, he wasn't.
No, because he knew if we ranked Wemby, it would just be Wemby number one. Who's after? So I think that's why he left Wemby out. But Wemby is also in that draft.
But if you throw Wemby in the conversation, then we have this Bennett better favors them for maybe being one of the best defensive classes ever.
Right.
Do you have one off the top of your head?
Because let me ask you this, Casual. Could one guy tip the scale that much? You
get a draft with Hakeem in it, all of a sudden the defense of that draft looks a lot better.
But even still, Mars, like, does Hakeem push does he move the needle? Well, I mean, Jordan was in that draft, and Otis Thorpe was in that draft, Stockton was in that draft. When you think about defensive players, I mean, does one guy move the needle that much?
Those Thompsons are going to be good defensively.
I think you do need an all-timer in your all-timer on that side of the ball to be.
Yeah, you can't have a best draft class, but we'll see. It's a little too early to tell, though. I forgot all the names on the list. I think you had Pods on that list too. Kayson Wallace.
Yeah,
I think it's Derek Lively. It's pretty good in the middle. Block some shots.
I think Amen's the best defender there, but I'm biased. But I do think Amen's the best defender.
Very athletic, dirty work guy. That dude won me a lot of money betting on his rebounds.
He the best athlete in the NBA, but people not ready for that conversation. So I'm gonna save that for another day. But I got Amen Thompson as the best defender there, and right now, based on their rookie year, I'd probably say Taylor Hendricks is probably the worst defender there. But I still think all of them.
He
plays for the Utah Jazz.
Okay, that's what I was about to say.
He didn't really start getting minutes until the end of the season.
I'm not the biggest, not most familiar with this game. I haven't watched a lot of Hendricks films.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really start getting major minutes until Utah was already tanking. So if you were watching Utah early on, you probably weren't seeing him. And if anyone was watching Utah in March, then hats off to you, because there wasn't much to really watch when they were just intentionally losing games, although they beat us to close the season. But that's besides the point. So that's why I'll probably put him last, just out of sample size, and I think he just didn't get enough reps personally. But that's where I'm at with it in terms of defenders. DJ Cushmore says, shout out to the panel. W host, thank you. He asked for you guys' top 5 wide receivers of all time. I can't answer this one. So anyone who knows anything about the NFL, go ahead, Kenny.
All right. Randy Moss, Jerry Rice. Wow, I'm so excited.
This really isn't that difficult.
Damn, you got two. You was talking
Randy Moss and Jerry Rice. They're undisputed top 2.
Randy Moss.
You got as far as I could have gone. I could have said that.
Randy Moss, Jerry Rice,
Megatron has to be on that list for me.
Receivers.
Is his name actually Megatron or is that a nickname?
Cooper Kupp.
That's the nickname.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his actual name?
I was thinking about favorites.
Calvin Johnson.
Oh, favorites.
Yeah, his real name is Calvin Johnson, but we call him Megatron.
Okay.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson. I think that's 4. I said.
Mm-hmm.
No, I said Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, Cooper Kupp, and then Calvin Johnson. Yeah, that's 5. That's 5. Yeah.
Cooper Kupp is not a top 5 wide receiver.
I thought it was like 5 favorite. I didn't think
he was doing his favorites.
Yeah, that's
5. Hey, Cooper Kupp had a triple crown in 21. That was an all-time. That was an all-time season.
100%.
Okay, so Pete Cooper Kupp top 5?
No. Some of it, because then football talks a little weird because then you got to go scheme, then you got to go route tree, then you got to go like where you line up, who's guarding you, is it a linebacker or is it an elite corner? For me, I'd probably go Rice, Moss, Megatron. I'm an Antonio Brown guy, biased towards my era. My brother was a Steelers
some
fan.
Crazy things on Twitter, but
sure. CTSBN, I know, but Antonio Brown to me is the top 5 receiver ever, and then that 5th spot, T.O.
Was Antonio Brown better than Chris Carter?
Yes.
Chris Carter, the one who did the show with Nick Wright like 5 years ago?
Yes,
first things first. I think he's better than Chris Carter. He's more dominant than Chris Carter. Check the accolades. Check that.
Yeah.
Big games. Antonio Brown in the bigger games. More athletic Antonio Brown. I like Antonio Brown better. That's just me. I think Antonio Brown's one of the most dominant wide receivers to ever play the game.
Yep. Chris Carter had better hands, I think.
Chris Carter did have some great hands.
Yeah, Chris Carter had I think he had better hands. And not only do I think he had better, I think he was a better route runner than Antonio Brown. I think he was a better route runner. I think he had better hands. I think he was a bigger playmaker than Antonio Brown.
I would have Terrell Owens then.
So
Chris Carter.
Terrell Owens definitely top 5 wide receiver all time. And I mean, he led the whole decade. And
I think I'd have Julio Jones over Chris Carter too.
Yeah.
Me personally.
Yep.
Seems like you just have a bias to the newer generation.
Well, those guys accumulated first team all pros like nothing. They were going 1,700. Those guys got more yards, more first team all pros than some of those other older guys, albeit they were playing in a more passing era.
Yeah, I was going to say era tax, man.
Those guys were dominant.
Mars, those error tax in football. Error tax in football is a real thing. Error tax in football is a real thing, 100%. Because we got guys back in the 80s who, they were throwing for 3,600 yards, and that was considered slinging it.
And the offensive schemes are getting a lot smarter, so it's easier to get a wide receiver open today than it was 30 years ago. But I think Antonio Brown and Julio Jones were more dominant in their time than Chris Carter was.
I think if anything, error tax helps players more than harms them with football. Because I think with football, it's weird. That's why when I hear people talk about the NFL versus when I talk about the NBA, how they discuss like past generations, they give a lot of respect to them. Versus when we talk in the NBA, it's a lot of disrespect, and it's kind of weird. But a lot of times when you're talking about the past eras, the era tax helps someone's case more than anything, because when you look at the numbers, like, oh, this dude only had 800 receiving yards. Well, back then, that was a lot, because they understand the different way the game is played. So, like, versus then when you take that to the NBA, it's like, oh, this dude only averaged 19 points a game. He wasn't a good scorer. And not take into consideration that they were only playing to like 70 points. So, like, I that's one thing I like about talking about NFL is just it feels like it's a lot more genuine about how good the player was, rather than
it's a lot better conversation than basketball.
I mean, I like to think we had some good conversations today.
Oh yeah,
100%.
No, not on the panel. I'm talking about when you go outside and you're having those barbershop conversations. It's a lot more disingenuous in basketball than it is to football. Football, there's a lot of praise to the old guys.
People want to hear. They want to hear us talk about
too.
KD's fraudulent legacy. That's what they want to hear, man.
There are people who show respect to quarterbacks that were throwing during World War II.
Yeah, exactly. You can't call. I saw a tweet like you can't call Jim Brown a plumber, but you can call Wilt a plumber. You can't call Jim Brown a plumber. It's seen as disrespectful in the NFL spaces, but in the NBA spaces, it's all fun and games when you're poking at George Mikan. You know what I mean?
I mean, to say a guy in Otto Graham went to the championship, 11 times. I don't care what era you played in. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, shout out to Bill Russell.
Just
Next one, we spoke up a little bit about the NFL. Nice. Mo, the biggest Harden stan on the planet, said, W host, as a scorer, where does Harden rank? We kind of spoke about it a little bit, but I want to get a more definitive answer. Peak James Harden. As a scorer, where does he rank all time?
Top 10, no doubt.
100% top 10.
I can't tell you the exact placement because I got to know every single player, but top 10, no doubt.
But so Luka's above him in that list, right? Luka would be above
him. I have him like same tier. I have him like same, like give or take a spot. If you want to flip him, that's fine. I have him like right next. If Luka's 7, then Harden's going to be 8. I can't put a huge gap between them.
Okay, chill.
But there's not that many names because when I think of scores, MJ,
keep scorers, Jordan,
Ron, Shaq, KD,
James.
Will. Those are like some scorers up there. Once I get past those guys, Kobe.
That's what I was thinking, Bryant.
And then
peak
like
scorers.
once you get past those like 5 or 6 guys, I'm not saying those guys are better or worse than Harden, but those guys you could clearly argue are better than Harden.
I can't take away from. Here's the difference, though, Casual. Okay, sure, the game has changed, and okay, you got the quote unquote 3-level scorer. Well, if I was playing during that time, and that's what the game was, there's no way to say that I couldn't do that I couldn't shoot the 3, or I couldn't shoot in the mid range more if my game didn't, or if that was the game going on. There's no way to say that I couldn't do that. So with that being said, I only got to go off of what you did during the time you did it. That's why I think about guys like Chamberlain, Jordan, KD, Bryant, Jabbar. We're talking about peaks. Jabbar.
Well, you still have to arrow tax in a way as far as like competition, pace, who you're going up against. But I do get what you're saying though, like because since 3-pointers weren't as prevalent, of course they didn't have a 3-point ball. I get what you're saying.
So those are the 5 that I'm thinking about. And then the next 5 I'm thinking about was Carmelo Anthony at his peak better than James Harden at his peak?
No. And say Michael Beasley was too.
Harden's scoring ceiling was much higher than Melo's.
You know, we had a guy in the league, and Adrian Dantley averaged 30 a game for 6 straight years on like 55% from the floor. That's ridiculous. So to answer your question, Mars, where does he rank? I think James Harden at his peak, I think he's anywhere between 6 and 9 at his peak.
So both of you have him.
When you also talk about the best scores ever, too, it's also not what you do in the regular season. It's also the postseason translation.
Where, how, who against,
and then when you get into stuff about greatness, it's like, did that 40 points per game win a championship? Did that 30 points per game lead to anything? That's what also helps bias a guy like Jordan, LeBron, because we saw their 30 to 40 point performances host trophies. And same thing with Shaq. Like Shaq was 36 a game winning finals. I think it's hard to not have Shaq top 5 as far as your scores.
Yeah. Drink More Water asked, is innovation a part of these scoring debates? Do you factor in guys who push the game forward in any way?
I'd like to think that. I think that's where the logic of is your game transcendent comes from. Like when guys see your game, do they add your game to their game? I'd like to think that. So the reason why the skyhook isn't as, which is amazing to me today. That's why it's such a big deal to me, because the reason why the skyhook isn't as big a deal as it is today, because a lot of guys can't do it. They can't create the separation that Jabbar created. They don't get off the floor like Jabbar did. So, but you do have guys who are able to put in a fall-away 17-footer in their game, right? You do have guys who are able to put a head and shoulder fake in their game. So I 100% do add that, Moss. Yes, I do.
Okay. Casual, you look like you don't add that.
Not to like a high extent. If you were like the first person to do this, but then someone that came along was better, I'm just going to take a guy who's better at it. Like if you were the first person to shoot threes at a high volume, I'm just still going to take Curry. Like he's just better. Although you were the first person kind of bringing it into the game, this guy's just better than you. Like,
okay, I'm with you. I'll wait for Kenny to plug up so I can ask him my question. So while we do that, shout out to Cryby Uni 5. Cribby, maybe. Shout out to you for the dollar super chat. But Kenny, peak James Harden. Where does he rank as a scorer all time?
Man, I went to the bathroom to avoid this question.
Well, as a host, I'm making sure we get these answers.
I'll say top 10. I was thinking about it before I left, and then I'm trying to think of the people who I have ahead of him. I would say probably top 10, maybe top. Nah, if he's talking about peak, yeah, that 2017 to 2021, yeah, before he got his injury. Yeah, that was even though I'm not a big fan of the foul baiting, but outside of that, his shooting, like you cannot deny that. And the foul baiting was leading to him getting to the rim so well. Like it wasn't just that he was foul baiting, he was also finishing as well. Like it wasn't like he was just going up and doing the Joel Embiid and just being. He was drawing fouls, getting nailed on sometimes. So it's like Yeah, so definitely top 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that we're talking about Harden as a scorer right now because yesterday I actually saw a tweet from back then in that Harden era where people were talking about like we're doing like bad eating stuff. Harden's like scoring bar was like 40.
Yeah.
40. That's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I think he had.
how many points is Harden going to score today? We're going to set the line at 40. Huh?
And he would hit the overs.
Huh?
He would hit the overs. That was
And
the
he would
crazy
get
thing.
it.
He would hit
Like,
the overs.
how is your bar at 40? And then
If I
people
remember-
say yes. People were taking overs on 40.
Yeah.
Sorry? What?
James
That's
Harden
how
puts
good
the
you
ball
are?
in the basket, man.
Yes, he does.
He's good, bro.
One thing James Harden gonna do is gonna put that ball in that basket. So shout out to him. He's a solid little scorer. He'd still be doing that today if he ain't.
I
ruined
think when
his
he
hamstring
retires,
trying
we're going to
to do it.
appreciate him more. Because some of the playoff blunders and the out of shape stuff, it kind of tints his legacy. But once he retires, we're going to remember, hopefully, we're going to remember the 36, this stretch where he didn't score below like 25. We're going to remember that.
Hopefully. I'm a bit optimistic to pray for positivity.
Yeah.
Masenk OG, back to the NFL topic, said Jerry Rice admitted to using stickums and no one questions his GOAT case.
So, guys,
Stickums.
but so what?
I guess something on his gloves that helped make
you wear-
help
you
make
wear
him
slip-
easier
but
to
but
catch.
so what?
Oh.
Guys play with orthotics in their shoes. That gives them the advantage as opposed to playing with Chuck
Was
Taylors.
stickums banned? Was it banned?
Well, Stickham's
If
definitely.
it was banned, then
No.
I think that should.
Well,
ban his case.
it's a
not
tricky
banned.
situation because I haven't seen that where he admitted Stickum.
Me
But you
neither.
can also make because
Me
pitchers
neither.
in baseball were using all this bad stuff since back in the day. So you got to do the same thing to all the 70s and 80s pitchers. But you can also say like players today are in better offensive schemes that help them get open in the first place to even catch that ball. Players today who have better shoes to make them maybe a little faster. The gloves are better today than they were in the 80s.
Wait,
At the end of
it's
the day, right?
insane how good the gloves are nowadays.
Yeah,
My
gloves
little
are
brother,
really good. I
my
mean,
little-
have you ever just like seen a football glove today? If you drop
Yeah.
a pass, dude, like,
Yeah.
dude. But at the end of the day, for Jerry Rice's hands thing, he still has to be open for him to catch that ball, and that man
100%
was
does.
open,
Mhm.
open. So, whatever.
Why you think guys are able to catch those one-handed passes? Because the gloves are like magnets today.
They're magnets now.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
Even on
if
the
you're
youth-
using
even on the
a
youth
banned
level.
substance, like I think that should have some conversation. Like, I
So
think it's
funny.
worthy of some conversation. If you're using something banned to gain an advantage, I think like
I had a
once again, I don't know. Like Masenko G could have just lied to me. Like I don't know, but if he is, I think that should be part of the conversation at least in some regards.
Bro, Barry Bonds was using steroids, and I still have him as the GOAT hitter of all the GOAT hitter of all time. I don't. There's only so much you can do, especially in a sport like a team sport like that, where when it comes to like banned stuff like that, where I really like penalize you. Like for example, for like track and field, banned substances. Well, firstly, everyone's using them. They're just better at getting away with it. But like that's a lot easier to be like, yeah, I don't know if I hold you to as high as regard. But
Says you did admit to it. Okay.
I ain't coming to interrupt and cooking, man. Oh, employee.
L.
Employee. Like, what you doing? Like, let him cook.
Supervisor
But-
is working. The
Yeah,
supervisor
like, what you
working.
doing? I would
Knock
have
on the
fired
door.
him. Yeah, I would have fired him so
Knock
quick. That's
on the
crazy.
door.
But while he's away, Donovan Samuels with the super chat said, "W host, I'd like to see a ZZ and Casual matchup in the PCL playoffs." Casual, you think you win that matchup?
Not really familiar with this game, but I'll get familiar.
It was mediocre game. Mediocre.
Donovan.
Don't set the expectations.
Like I said,
you can expect what you want. I'm just mediocre game.
don't
Shout
let
out
that
to
name
ZZ.
Casual fool you. That's all I'm saying. Do not let that name Casual fool you. So when you're going up against this dude, he is not what you think he is. No.
Yeah. Ken, are you back with us?
yeah, my bad.
Did you fire that guy for interrupting you?
Get him out of
No.
here, yo. I'm first of all, knock on the door. That's number one. Okay.
He did knock. He did knock.
Okay.
That's how I do.
Nah, but it's not a knock if you knock and then come in right after.
No,
That's not a knock.
right.
Like, at that point, you're not even knocking. You got to knock and then wait
Right.
for the permission
Knock
to come
on
in.
Hang on for a second, Mars. Hold on for a second. That doesn't mean open the door and come in. No, it doesn't.
This is where, as a supervisor, you tell that employee, go take a lunch break. And that lunch break's permanent.
Well, I'll be with you in a minute. Hang on for a second.
Permanent lunch break.
Hang on for a second. I'll be with you in a minute. No. Not gonna does not mean come in. No, it's not the same thing.
Hey, it's all good. But I do, and I just reminded myself, I do have a bone to pick with you, Mars. Just a little bit. Okay. You gotta stop hating on Flo-jo.
I'm not hating. I'm not hating. All I said was the world record doesn't count. That's all I said.
But at the same time, chill. It does. The win does matter. It does matter.
100% it does.
It 100% matters.
Yeah.
But it's more so. It's like even because the issue with the whole Flo-jo thing that I think people keep missing every time I hear it is that Mars brought it up yesterday. I think it was where. The readings for her race, and this was during the prelims. She did the world record during the prelims, or the not prelims, but like the qualifying rounds. It wasn't even in the final. The heats. Yeah, and it was a problem with the sensor for the run, and so technically it was a 0.00, which is like almost impossible to have. There's always a slight breeze, but it was just the way the sensor was. So it's like, yeah, the day was windy because if you look at other areas that were going on at the exact same time, specifically the triple jump,
plus 4.3.
Yeah, it was like a point plus 4, but it's just like it's the rule. It's the rule. It's the and she still ran like 10.6. She still ran 10.6 without wind. So like she's still.
Elaine Thompson-Herah ran 10.54. So
no. She ran Elaine Thompson-Herah's record is a 10.61, and before Flo-jo's 10.65.
It's 10.54.
Hold on, let me check.
Don't make me out. She ran a 10.54. Don't test me on this, man. I know you coach track and field. I know she ran 10.54. You do this to me, man. I know she ran 10.54. So, yeah, 10.54. I'm looking at it in 2021.
Okay. All right, my bad.
Yeah, see, I know hoot, man. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying she's not one of the fastest women ever. I didn't accuse her of juicing. All I said was that 0.0 wind reading was capped, and that her world record isn't legit. But she was still the fastest woman in the world. Yeah. But Elaine Thompson-Herah is the rightful owner of the women's 100 meter world record, and I will die on that hill. She's the rightful owner of that world record, and they're not gonna ever change it. But real ones know. Real ones know that Elaine Thompson-Herah is the fastest woman to ever live in terms of fastest ever 100 meter time. So I will stand on that till the end of time.
Yeah,
but whenever I hear that, I'm good.
Swiper was tripping. Swiper was tripping yesterday. He was saying some crazy stuff yesterday. I was like, I'm with you on the Flo-jo thing, but his defense for it was not.
They casuals, man. They casuals. They're not locked in. They casuals. It's cool though. It's cool. I can't blame people for being casuals, man. Adam West with a super chat. This is second super chat today. Not as big as the $50 one, but appreciate it nonetheless.
Mars, can you whisper that first line, please? Because we don't want nobody to. Please. Don't.
Yeah.
No. All you got to do. Allegedly stole my mom's debit card.
Okay.
There you go. I'm not finished. LKIABK W panel today. Jokic, the best international player of all time, and Steve Francis is the GOAT. L wide back Boston fan.
Who is wide back Boston? Who is that?
I'm not gonna put a name to it because he ain't sent a super chat telling me to say the name.
Right.
But I'm not.
But L wide back Boston fan. That's all I'm gonna say. Spoo with a member re-up.
Oh, I know.
Now you know. Spoo said RJ Barrett player comparison. You guys have a player comparison for RJ Barrett?
I don't have one for him.
Slightly above average NBA player.
I actually I was thinking a better version of Mo Peterson. That's kind of who he reminds me of. I remember Mo Peterson when he was with Toronto. RJ Barrett could be a better version of that.
Any slightly above average wing.
You only did that because he was left-handed. You only did that because he was left-handed, sure.
Yes, that's what he pushed me over the top with.
Okay, understand.
The guy,
Casual, you need to start just like Mars has turned me on to the Spurs and me watching them more. And I'm gonna definitely tune in more to the Houston Rockets this year because specifically I'm gonna watch Amen Thompson as a defender. Casual, I think you need to start paying more, especially up in Toronto. Start paying more attention to RJ Barrett.
What? I just said he's a slightly above average NBA player. 16, 18 points per game.
Well, there's 450 players in the NBA, so you're saying he's in what, the 200 range?
He's way better than that. Way better than that.
Above average NBA player.
No.
You can't name 200 players better than RJ.
No way. Hell no.
I mean, well, okay. There's a huge group of average. So out of the 400, like majority of them are average.
No,
RJ
majority
Barrett's
of them are
name
not.
was
average.
Could you name 100 better than RJ?
So if you got 400,
name
so if you
100
got
better than RJ?
So real quick, casual. If you got 450 players, around between the 200 to 260, that's average.
Yeah,
is that fair?
Mid. You're mid,
right?
Yeah.
I like to think that there are. I like to think that RJ Barrett is better than at least 200 players in the NBA.
Oh, he's better than like 200, but I view it as like,
or at least 150.
Very
I'd like
best,
to think
you're
that.
1%. You got
Johnny
your
Davis.
1%,
Yep.
right? That's like your Jokic or Giannis, Luka.
Oh, those guys. Okay.
Then you got your tier 2 who are like your superstars, but they're not like MVP players anymore. That's like your LeBrons, your Stephs, your Kevin Durants. Your tier below that is like your fringe number ones, but mostly number 2, but they're elite guys. I'd put like maybe like Devin Booker's in the world, those guys right there. Anyone below that would be like fringe all NBA third team type guys, and then like all stars. I don't think RJ Barrett's an all-star. So if you're not an all-star, you're just slightly above average NBA player.
Okay, so Pirate just brought up a really interesting point. So basically what you're saying is that there's 3 guys on every team better than RJ Barrett. So are there 3 guys on the Boston Celtics better than RJ Barrett?
He might be 5.
Okay.
All right, so he's an above. Oh, sorry, he's an above average NBA player.
Are there 3 guys?
Can you just say he's good? Can you just say he's good?
He's not average. He's not an all-star. He's in between.
Can you just say he's good? Can you just say he's a good
He's
player?
good. Being
he's a good
above average means you're good. That means you're good.
Let me know.
But I don't
good.
think
Good feels a lot better than.
I don't think he's that.
I don't know, casuals. Good sound like a 6 chick. That's what that sound like.
No, he's
like,
good.
You're not.
Chill.
You ain't really all that, but you ain't ugly neither.
Chill. Is he an all-star?
He might sneak an all-star team at some point.
I do think that he can.
Yeah,
be an all-star.
if you tell everyone in the East go on vacation for 9 months,
everybody. See, this is what I'm talking about, Cavs.
Man, RJ can sneak an all-star selection one time. You know, we ain't seen some questionable one-time all-star.
You tell everyone in the East go on hiatus for 9 months. Yeah, he can sneak on an all-star.
Everybody.
So RJ Barrett can't be as good as Wiggins a couple years ago.
Who started in the All-Star game?
He can't be as good as Andrew Wiggins a couple years ago.
Who started in the All-Star game, by the way?
Also, being an all-star, by the way, is the competition around you. So maybe the East is just so down, he just sneaks in at 20 points.
Exactly. He might get one. He might get an all-star selection.
He's above average NBA player, but the threshold, I don't view him as an all-star level player. I don't. Even if he made an all-star, I don't view him as an all-star level player.
Because you're a hater.
How am I being a hater? Tell me how RJ Barrett is an all-star.
You just watch next year, man. He locked in. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Watch next
like
year.
RJ Barrett, he's an above average NBA player. You know who I think's above average? D'Lo, Austin Reeves.
You think he's in the D'Lo tier?
No, but what I'm saying is I think those guys are like what I consider better than mid, but not all-stars. They're just in between. Now,
name me a mid
guys
player.
and break it down into subcategories, but I don't think he's an all-star.
Who's mid? I need a mid NBA player. Like the definition of mid.
Kyle Anderson? Is that mid? Is that mid enough?
Kyle
Okay,
Anderson,
I would say KCP would be considered a slightly above average NBA player. I would consider KCP like that level player slightly above average. Nice role player on a team, not a star, not an all-star. KCP would be like slightly above average.
What's Ben Simmons?
He's tricky because he doesn't play. But I wouldn't say Ben Simmons is an above average NBA player in 2024. I got to see him play, first of all.
All right.
And when he does play, he doesn't even look that good. When he did play,
resurgent season coming. It's cool.
He had no confidence. He was like 6 points a game. I can't say that's an.
Draymond's like 6 points a game. Draymond Green is like 6 points a game.
He has no confidence, but he had no confidence in his game. Draymond also.
You want a confident 6? Like
Draymond brings you that floor general. He brings you that defense. I don't think Draymond's an all-star. I think Draymond.
Is Grayson Allen a mid player in the NBA?
Grayson Allen was a mid NBA player, but
he's above average.
He is trying to, with his incredible three-point shooting, try to become a slightly above average player.
How about Pat Connaughton?
Actually, I'll move KCP into the above average tier. I was saying on KCP. I got to reevaluate. KCP's an above-average player. You know what? Let's redo the rankings here.
Sure.
Grayson Allen is a slightly above-average NBA player.
Okay.
Then we have the above-average player. I think I might need to do a subcategory and break up the above-average player just so people don't freak out with the label.
So there's a difference between being better looking and being slightly better looking.
Yeah, we'll do fringe in between all-star and above-average player. We'll do fringe all-star. We'll put RJ Barrett in that fringe all-star category, which means if the East is like down,
no, see, you had me a second ago.
You gotta let me explain. Which means it's like Fred VanVleet that one year. East is down. You need a replacement player. I'll lob you in.
So I'm not a fringe all-star because I'm knocking on the door at being an all-star.
You're 20 points per game. Someone's hurt. Maybe your team record's good. We'll throw you an all-star.
I'm a fringe all-star player because
someone said, I don't want to do the all-star game. Yeah, I'll throw an RJ Barrett.
So I'm not really a fringe all-star player. I'm not.
You're just saying he's a pity all-star. That's what
that's what it sounds like to me. I'm not really a fringe all-star player.
It's cool. You're a hater. It's cool. You're a hater.
Being an all-star, by the way, depends on who's in line and who's in front of you. What if someone's hurt, needs a replacement? You could have a fluke season. You can get in.
I mean,
I don't think RJ Barrett would ever be an all-star. Maybe he's a one-time all-star.
Exactly.
That's a fringe all-star. That's a fringe.
No, that's an NBA all-star. That's what that is. When Chris Kaman goes on TV, it doesn't say fringe all-star. It says one-time NBA all-star. That's what it says. So that's what it's going to say.
Was a fringe all-star. And maybe that was like a fluke of all flukes.
Whenever you see a Chris Kaman interview, it's not going to say was a fringe all-star in the NBA. It's going to say NBA all-star Chris Kaman. They're not even going to clarify that he only made it once. They're just going to say NBA.
That's what they do it out of respect. But this is my category, and I see
disrespect.
Well, your categories need to have some respect.
Yes, they do.
All-star RJ Barrett.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about RJ Barrett, like on the TV lower third, you'll put one-time NBA All-Star. And when they say breaking news, NBA All-Star traded, it will say RJ Barrett because he was an All-Star.
Exactly.
That's how the media works.
It won't say one time, or he'll say NBA All-Star. That's what it'll say.
Yes, and I have problems with that, but it's okay.
Because you're a hater, but it's cool. Too much sauce with the super chat, and I think this is quite interesting. He said, out of this list, who is the most athletic NBA player of all time? I guess these are the only players in that conversation, I guess. Michael Jordan, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, Ant-Man, Blake Griffin, Vince Carter, Gerald Green, Wilt, and LeBron.
Wilt.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's between Wilt and
how many All-Stars did Andrew Wiggins make before and after that?
He's still on this.
Oh no, he's only made one.
That was the only one. The one he made in Golden State. That was it. He didn't
NBA All-Star Andrew Wiggins.
Player. Give you an All-Star. What I say?
Fluke
year, you might have your best year of your career. Give you an All-Star. That's about it.
NBA All-Star.
When I think about an All-Star level player, I think about a guy who's rattling off. I think like Kyle Lowry, guy who's rattling off like 4, 5, 6, 8. That's what I think about All-Star level player. A fringe all-star is a guy, one, you might get a look.
So what was Manu?
Going to be stressed that you didn't make the list.
What was Manu Ginobili?
If you do the biggest all-star snubs, if you do the all-star snub in the East next year and RJ Barrett, you're not gonna be mad that RJ didn't make the list.
Okay, speak for yourself. But what was
depending on what kind of season he has. Hold on for a second.
Yeah, but if he's 21 points a game, you're not going to be RJ Barrett should have made the All-Star.
What is an extremely effective 21?
Right. And why you keep saying we've seen RJ Barrett? I've seen RJ Barrett with that Knicks team, a playoff team. He's averaging 22 a game on that Knicks team. He did do that. So if he's up in Toronto and Toronto's knocking on the door, which I don't think they will, but let's just say for the sake of argument that they're knocking on the door at the play-in tournament. He's 24 a game. Up there in Toronto. Well, wait a minute.
I don't think he's going to be 24 a game. But
why is that ridiculous? He was 22 a game when he was with the Knicks.
He's a hater. Like, it's fine.
Okay.
When was he 22 a game with the Knicks?
I think it was 2 years before he got traded.
Right now. I don't think he was 22 a game with
2 years before he got drafted. 2 years before he got drafted. I'm sorry. 2 years before he got traded. Yeah, I think he was 22. He started off the season slow. Like the first 15 games,
he averaged 20.
His highest scoring season.
That was the year, Mars, that he started off the season slow. The rest of the season, he was 22.
His highest scoring season was half of this season. The 32 games he was on Toronto, he was 22 points a game.
Okay, so that means he's a 26-point per game scorer, realistically.
26?
Yeah, but anyway.
He said 23.
Cool.
Anyway,
what was Manu Ginobili? Casual. What was Manu Ginobili?
Manu Ginobili was
slightly above average NBA player.
He's a fringe all-star.
So not a slightly above average NBA player.
Manu Ginobili was a fringe all-star.
Which would make him a slightly above.
No, that's an above average player. That's above average player.
Manu Ginobili was an above average player.
Manu Ginobili was a Hall of Famer.
Manu Ginobili, what he meant to San Antonio in those runs.
Nope, you're not doing that. Nope.
Nah, you're not doing
that.
You said Manu Ginobili was an above average NBA
no,
player.
No, you're not doing that.
That's what we need.
What he meant to prove.
And it also, we have to keep in mind, this is 2024, the most talented league ever. So when I say you're an above average player, that's different than being an above average player.
You're
so maybe in 2008. So maybe in 2008, I would have to era change the labels for Manu because the league's more talented today. So I got to keep doing these more categories. Manu in 2008, I probably would change it. But I wouldn't. Manu, would you say Manu's elite?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you crazy? What the hell's going on right now?
But when am
I think the Matrix, Mars? What is happening?
Okay, but
Casual, he was the best. Casual, he was the best rotation player in the game at one point. That's elite. We'll start there. On top of that, he was making all-star teams as the best rotation player.
No, what I meant by elite is like, you know what I meant by elite. He's a great player, but you know what I meant by elite.
Give me an elite player in today's game. Just name me an elite player in today's game. Ideally, the worst elite player. Who's the worst elite player?
Okay, for a couple seasons, Manu was elite. For a couple seasons.
Okay.
When he was like a all-NBA third team, couple-time all-star, that I would consider that elite season. I consider all-NBA elite. Mm-hmm. That's what I consider elite. That's all to me, all-NBA is elite.
So you think Julius Randle's better than Manu Ginobili?
No.
What's happening right now? What are we doing?
We're going to get back to this after you hear about some factor notes. We're going to get back to this.
I don't think Julius Randle is better than Manu Ginobili.
We'll get back to it.
What up, PC Nation? Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this July with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Head to factormeals.com/playerschoice50 and use code PlayersChoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code PlayersChoice50 at factormeals.com/PlayersChoice50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
Okay, let me re-explain myself before it looks like I'm getting cooked. Manu had elite seasons. I think like 08 was great. Those are some elite seasons. What I consider elite is like an all-NBA level player. That's what I consider elite. Everything below that, to me, is it's not a bad thing to be in this category. It means you're very good. Mm-hmm. Some of it's situational. Same thing with Manu. Some of it's a little situational. Some of it's about like the situation you're in and your production, but elite is all NBA. Mm-hmm. Anything after that is like very good, slightly good, and then average. And Manu had some elite seasons. If you're all NBA, you had an elite season. Mm-hmm. RJ Barrett, I don't think is elite because I don't think RJ Barrett's ever had an elite season.
So Julius Randle's elite.
I don't think Julius Randle's an elite player, but he had an elite or so season.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't think he's an elite player, but he had an elite or so season when he was all NBA. I don't think he's an elite player, but he had an elite season.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
All I'm saying
thanks for the clarification.
Is one
it's
of
not
these
being an
players
accolade merchant. Someone just said in the chat he's an accolade merchant. Just because I'm not just rattling off all NBA, having an all NBA season too is what matters to me. That's what I see as an elite player.
How many all NBA seasons did Manu have?
I gotta look at Manu's career. I'm not sure.
No, he made it twice, but are they the only
NBA
2 times?
Seasons he had? I don't know how many all NBA seasons.
Just so you know, Casual, he made the All-Pro team as a rotation player. He didn't make the all.
Yeah, that's what I said. He had some elite seasons, and for a while he was an elite player. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Some people say it's backtracking, but I'm trying to clarify so I can calm down and stop speaking before I'm thinking.
Right.
He had some elite seasons. I just think my player rankings is a little different than some people. I like to be your top of the 1% food chain. You're the best players in the league. So I'm like, oh wait, that's like LeBron, your Kobe's.
Manu
your
Ginobili.
tier 2 would be like you're that guy, but you're not like an MVP level player. And then anything below that would be you're an all NBA second, maybe, but on a good year, you're like 13. And then below that's like you could make a 13, but you're mostly just an all-star. Then below that would be you could make an all-star, but you're mostly just a good player.
I think what a divide is, though, right? Like you just said, you could be an all-pro. So that means that you're arguably a top 15 player. If you're an all-star and you're right outside to being an all-pro, you're arguably a top 20 player. That's in like the top 1% of the league. That's not a good player. That's an awesome player.
I think you also are confused. Like, I have the majority of the league, like below, slightly above average, all the way down. You're trying to confuse like, oh, but there's 400 players in the league. Yeah, because the top of the top is like 0.00%, and then everyone else is below that. There's a huge gap between Jokic and the guy in the middle of the league. Like my middle guy would be like your Kyle Andersons, but then you have to break up like average, like. They're slightly above average, below average, and
where's
below
Jared?
average.
Where's Jared Allen in terms of a player in the league? Is he an average big man or is he above?
He's an above average player. Jared Allen's above average player. I think to be considered above average, you're a top 100 player. You're top 100.
Okay, interesting.
You're top 100. And also, and by the way, back to the Manu stuff. I'm talking about my rankings. It's a little weird because you threw me into like 2008. These rankings are based on this year because there's so many talented players in 2024 that you have to like get specific. If I were to do this in like, if you go back and do the top 20, top 15 players in 2014, that 10 or 11 guy, is he even top 15 in 2024? You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, he's not. No,
that's what I'm saying. So like, my bad if I offended anybody. I haven't thought about my rankings through.
You definitely offended me. Yeah, you definitely.
I didn't want to do that. I didn't think before I spoke. My rankings, my tiers are based on the talent today. I would have to rechange it, obviously, relative to era. Sorry.
Because spoiler alert, I have a Manu Ginobili topic on Sunday. So
I would have to change to anyone who thinks my bad. I would have to change it relative to era. My rankings are based on this 2024. Since it's so talented, maybe a player who 20 a game, that would be considered elite in like 2000, but today it's just because how many players are scoring 20 today? Like 50?
It's a few. But I don't think I got everyone's answer for the most athletic. I think Kenny went with Wilt and Chill went with Wilt. Casual, the most athletic player ever.
What was that list again? It had like Blake Griffin, Gerald Green. Oh, I'm gonna go with LeBron, obviously. So I think LeBron's the greatest size, speed, strength of all time, but Wilt has limited film on him, so we'll see.
Wilt ran fast and jumped high, so
He also scored 100 points.
All right. I tried to save these as long as I could, but Ox just left me stranded today, so I'm still reading these super chats, but I wanted to read them for Ox, but he ain't want to show up. D3 said daily reminder that racing is a sport. L Ox, facts.
It is.
Facts. Mo77 said L Ox, L hater, facts. And then
by the way, I just pulled up the Ringer's top 100. Take what you will. It's the freaking Ringer. When was this posted? Can't tell when this was posted. It says 2023 on here. You can give me exact update, but it's got if it has and at 8, it's definitely made this offseason. It's got RJ Barrett at 99. So getting hate on here. Now, albeit ringer.
If the ringer agrees with you, I think that's more damning.
Name 100 players better than RJ. Got 99.
Well, 98 technically, but I mean, if the ringer agrees with you, I don't know if that's the point you want to send them. But anyway, because we got
I said albeit the ringer. I'm just putting into perspective. Like, there's a lot of players in the.
Yeah, but shout out to you for fans in it. Shout out to the ringer for putting RJ Barrett. But to round out the show, and then we got Open Gym next. We're doing a draft on Open Gym, so watch that if you want. Masenk OG said, Ox, we need to push more about the Kings being robbed of the 2002 Western Conference Finals. No, we don't. Also, if Julius Randle is an All-NBA player today, imagine Chris Webber today. I mean, by casuals metric, I guess he'd be in a
relative to again. I have to do it relative to era because it's so much more talented today than back then. Dude, C-Web wipes. C-Web was more elite in his era than Julius Randle was in his era. So
yes.
I won't argue that.
That's what it's all my things. It's got to be adjusted to era.
Yeah. But that rounds things out for today. I think everyone enjoyed it. Shout out to Kenny for pulling up, Hall of Famer Kenny. Shout out to Casual. Shout out to Chill. Shout out to me, of course. W host.
I couldn't even do
on Sunday.
Mars and I.
This man Kenny gonna be on Open Gym anyway. Like you pull up anyway. But
Mars and I always holding
this list is getting nasty. These are some of the players they have above RJ.
Mars and I always holding.
Is Jalen Green above him?
Brooke Lopez, Kobe White. Alex
we got to bounce though.
We got to bounce. Herb Jones. Jalen Green 69. Jalen Green.
There we go. 69. Yeah.
Herb Jones is above Jalen Green.